Right, live. Oh, what's all this I hear about you losing 4-1 yesterday? Hitting the post God knows how many times?
Yep, they hit the post and crossbar 4 times, lost 4-1, battered, absolutely destroyed.
What, Bradford hit the post 4 times, or?
No, MK Dons. They scored 4 and should have scored another 4.
I thought you meant that, like, you'd hit the post. I'm thinking that's just so fucking unlucky, that is, that you just keep hitting the woodwork and then theirs keep going in.
We couldn't hit fuck all. We scored once to make it 1-1 and then just got battered.
Jesus.
Honestly, the MK Dons fans are probably upset that they didn't score. They could have had 10.
Yeah.
Easily.
Bloody
Yeah,
hell.
bubbles burst now.
Oh, God.
I'm ready for a new manager. Well, no, I'm not ready for a new manager because I'm probably going to hate over the appoint.
Oh, God.
So yeah, I'm done with football. Just give me a mid-table finish, and I'll do it all again next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh shit! I've got this on live. I think we're live. Yeah. What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey. Back in our usual Wednesday evening slot, it is time for the college football podcast, UNC-eeing me no more. Ryan, we are through week 8 of the season now. We're already halfway through the conference slate of fixtures. This is the time of year when good takes start to look good, bad takes start to get exposed. The race for the playoffs is on, the race for a good bowl game, the race for conference championship games. We are in the thick of it now from the business side of this season.
Yeah, if anyone that loses from now on, there are things at stake. Like you say, we've got like 10 bowl eligible teams already after like the first teams that have got to 6 wins. We've got teams that have lost a lot of foot race in their own division championships. We've got teams that are basically got 1 foot already in the title game. And yeah, like I say, what have been the next 2-3 weeks do we get the first CFP prediction?
Yeah, we do.
Like week 10 in it, yeah. So yeah, we're very close to hearing the first final standings for the 1 to 4. So right now everything is on the line, and we've had some doozies.
We've had some very good predictions, and we've had one particularly very bad one, but we're big boys. We'll put on our big boy pants and we will own up to them as the show goes on. So today we are going to be reviewing week 8 of the college football season. We're then going to have a little look at the conferences, how they're lining out, how the teams are doing. So as I say, we're about halfway through the conference slate now, so we can sort of see who's contending for each conference and who maybe is not doing so well. And then we're going to take a look ahead to week 9. We're going to go through our pick watch fixtures as we always do. One's actually already taken place because we're now on Tuesday CUSA action, but there's plenty to go through. And if you joined us at the start of the show, you also got a nice little snippet to begin with of me and Ryan talking about Bradford City getting their arse handed to them because I accidentally started the live and didn't put it on the intro put, so you were all sat watching us talk about football completely oblivious to me. So to all those who joined us very early, hope you enjoyed that. That was big mistake on my part, but thank you to everyone who's joined. I've seen Brent DeWitt is in the building, Matt, our own Matthew Turner, is in the building, Buckeye in Michigan is in the building. I don't like having Buckeyes in the building, especially given the takes we had in the way, but thank you for joining us there. And then anyone who is on Twitch as well, we appreciate you joining. If you've got any questions during the evening, just send them our way. As long as they're not Penn State related, you can fire away and you can ask us anything you want. Anyhow, I'll just quickly go through all the preamble stuff first before we get underway. So don't forget, Roar of the Lions UK Discord. If you want in on that, let us know. We'll fire you a link. The main Roar of the Lions UK podcast, we are back on Saturday for our preview for the Las Vegas Raiders game. Lions back on Monday Night Football with Cleet Blakeman. No spoilers as to how this one's going to go, hey lads. But we've got a great guest lined up. You'll be hearing about that in the near future. We'll be doing it at the slightly later time, 10 o'clock over here in the UK, 5 p.m. over there in the US for the most of you, so a bit more palatable if you want to get back in the evening and listen to us there. Don't forget to like and sub to everything, Twitch, YouTube, all that good stuff. We really appreciate you all. Don't forget about Lions Nation Unite, Herman Moore's pet project to bring together the best in Detroit Lions content creators. And then don't forget, we are a Twitch affiliate, we are monetized on YouTube, we have a tip jar. If you want to help us that way, great, but we just love having you in the building. We've got a feedback form as well, so got any comments about shows, anything you want us to talk about, anything we could change, let us know. We will do that for you. And don't forget, we are rocking our little merch store now as well. So if you want to rep the Roar of the Lions UK wherever you're going, then just get in the building there. We'll send you the link for that as well, and it's on our Twitter page. So we've got that all out of the way. So if there's nothing else quickly to go through, then we shall dive down into everything. So we've got a little bit of news this week, and I'm glad Brent is in the building, actually. Hope you're doing well, Brent. He says he's not going to be here next week, finally having my hernia surgery, but he'll watch it later, I hope. Well, Brent, all the best to you with that. Hope everything goes well. We will miss having our most devout follower on here, but hope that goes well, and hope you enjoy the show after the time. But first bit of news concerns his Army Black Knights team. So the conference is going to be getting in on the conference realignment action. We've not had anything for at least a month now, which is way too long in the world of conference realignments. But the Black Knights are going to be heading over to the American, giving up their independent status, which they've held for about 20 years now. The last time they were conference affiliated, they were in the CUSA, but starting in 24 to 25 the season, they will be going into the American as a football-only member, which means they're going to be conference mates with their fierce service rivals, the Navy midshipmen. Their annual game at the end of the season will remain a non-conference fixture because it's played after the championship game. So, of course, you can't have a conference game after the championships game has been played. But in the unlikely event that both of them make that title game and we have a Army versus Navy game for the American Championship in the near future, then they'll play each other twice in a week, which would be quite something. And with that defection from the independents, that means there's just 3 independent teams left: Notre Dame, UMass, and UConn. But this is something that's been in the works for a little while now, right? The Black Knights looking to find a home in a conference, and they've found one with the American, and I think D linemen in that conference are just going to be thanking their lucky souls that twice a season now they're going to have to go up against the triple option.
Ask Brent, what D1 sports do Army play that's not football? You say it's a football on the move. I don't know what else Army play. I don't know what military academies also play. If you can let us know, I'm quite intrigued by that being a football only move, so it's interesting. But the time of the independence has come and gone. We've seen BYU fall, now it's in Army. The pressure is mounting on the other three to pick a spot, find somewhere, or someone is going to put you somewhere, I think, if I'm honest. I think this whole picking your own schedule thing is dead in the water. So I'm all for it. I don't like the fact that their game's not an on-front conference game. Bring it forward. The game with Navy should be before the conference game, and it should be made a conference game, so it has some conference permutations. I like it being a one-off spectacle, but don't make it not have relevance within its own conference. That's what I kind of think is a bit weird. So I think they should tweak the calendar a little bit. But yeah, I think it's a good home for them. Like I say, because they're at West Point, aren't they? So it's not terrible for travel, I don't think. No, it's not, is it?
No,
I think it's pretty good. So yeah, they're located, situated well. So yeah, I like this move for them. And I think the other independents will quickly follow suit by getting scooped up by the realignment.
Yeah, I mean, there were when we started doing this show, the College Pod a couple of years back, there were 8, I think they were, and now, like, into the third season, only 2 years, really. It's whittled down to 3 now, and you've got to figure there will be a home for Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, we know going to be the last one out there. They'll be so picky.
They're haggling over the TV deal, but UMass and UConn, you've kind of got to figure. I think UMass have only just transferred out, or UConn. One of them have not been an independent for long. But you're going to figure they're going to find a home eventually.
UConn will be hard, won't it? Because they've got the basketball that's really good.
Yeah.
So they'll want to have the best division, won't they? So
you've got to
I suppose where they're going to put the football team. I think they'll be the hardest to realign because of the other sports.
I think you might find they'll take a football-only deal somewhere. It might come down to that, and then because I think getting rid of the basketball team wherever they are now will not want to lose them. But yeah. A new start for the Army Black Knights. They're going to be in the American as of next year. Brent goes, didn't think they were going to do it, but glad that they did. So it's going to be interesting. And I'm with you. I would like to see the Army-Navy game in season now, but hey, we do it for the uniforms, don't we? The uniforms are absolutely amazeballs, so that is why we do it. Anyhow, that's the only really little bit of news we got today. I'm not going to do anything about Stallion Gate or Michigan Mass or whatever the sign stealing things over in Michigan has been called. That's I don't know. That's something that's getting blown way out. We did a bit last week, but we're going to leave that well enough alone this week, and we're just going to go straight down into football. So as always, with the games, we've got the main games we're going to talk about. Then we've got our upset corner, our survivor corner, and then the pick watch games. And there was some terrific football on this week. And no, I am not starting with that game. I have Men in Blacked it out of my mind. We're starting somewhere else with one of the biggest upsets in, America, the Atlantic Conference history for a very long time now. The Virginia Cavaliers on the road to the UNC Tar Heels with potential number 1 pick in the draft, Drake May, gunning them at quarterback. UNC 24-point favourites for this one. And just to give some aspect of coming into this game, Virginia were on an 8-game losing streak against FBS opposition dating back to last season. They didn't have a win in the ACC in a calendar year. They have never beaten an AP top 10 ranked team on the road, and they have had 30, that's 30 attempts to do so, and they have not beaten a top 10 ranked team since about 2005, and the matchup was not favourable either. The UNC run defence ranked 30th in the nation coming into this one against the Virginia run offence, which ranked 130th in the nation, bearing in mind there's only 133 teams. And the Virginia O-line, it ranked 115th and 113th for sacks and tackles for loss allowed. So you take all that into consideration. UNC a 24-point home favourite. Gotta only be one outcome right. Wrong. Virginia 31, UNC 27 for the most almighty of upsets. Let's just tell you how this game went. So early on, right from the get-go, Virginia were up for this. Mike Hollins, him of, from last year, who survived the shootings, he's back playing now, had a wonderful game here. He kicked it all off with an 11-yard touchdown run after less than 4 minutes. That's 7-zip to Virginia. UNC hit right back, though. Drake May finds Tez Walker, who is flourishing in college football now. His ban has been lifted. 25-yard touchdown pass there to level the scores at 7 apiece. Virginia, not phased though. Straight back to work with 2 minutes left in the first. Mike Hollins gets his second rushing touchdown of the game, this time from within the 5 as they take the lead back 14-7. But once again, UNC hit right back. Drake May finds Bryson Nesbitt, his tight end, all alone on the perimeter. He takes it for a 62-yard score to level it at 14 all, and that's with less than 3 minutes gone in the second quarter. So this game was threatening to break out into a real high scorer, but then the defense has started to contribute to the game. First, Virginia forced a turnover on downs. On the resulting drive, they went all the way down to the UNC red zone, but then Tony Muskett got picked off by Amani Chapman with 3 minutes of the half left. Both teams managed to botch another drive before UNC managed to sneak in one last one before the half. They got a 43-yard field goal as the half expires, so it's 17-14 UNC at the break. Things that get dicey for Virginia. They give up a turnover on downs to start the second half, been quite aggressive. UNC make them pay as Drake May goes over with a quarterback keeper. Suddenly it's a 10-point deficit, 24-14. But Virginia, all credit to them, they do not lose heart. The resulting drive, it's a huge one for them. Mike Hollins, touchdown number 3 on the day from the 1-yard line this time. Shaves the gap back to 3 points. Defense then makes a stand, gets them the ball back. They drive again. They're able to level it with a 45-yard field goal just as the third quarter is about to finish. UNC respond with a field goal of their own. They messed up a really promising drive in the red zone, but they got the field goal, got the lead back at 27-24 with 12 to go. But Virginia refused to go away, and this is where Malik Washington, their star wide receiver, comes up clutch for his team. First, he snags a 30-yard grab to get the Virginia drive cooking. Then when they reach the red zone, he gets a pass at the 15, he breaks one tackle, he leaves a second defender grasping for thin air, and then he simultaneously breaks another 2 tackles at the same time as he powers into the end zone for the go-ahead touchdown. It was grit, as Dan would call it, on the touchdown run. It's 31-27 to Virginia with 9 minutes left. Virginia then force a 3-and-out. They start another promising drive. They get it all the way back to the UNC end zone. They burn 3 minutes in the process, but disaster strikes. Mike Hollins, going for his 4th score of the day, fumbles it literally about 5 inches before the line. He tries to reach out and grab the ball, knocks it out the back of the end zone. So instead of being a game-killing Virginia touchdown, it ends up being a UNC touchback. And there's 5 minutes left at this point. And then Drake May hits 2 massive downfield shots, and in about 20 seconds, they're down at the Virginia 20. But Virginia's defense makes a massive stand here, forces a turnover on downs. The offense isn't on the field long, but it's able to get a very big first down on the next drive, forces UNC to use all their timeouts before Virginia punt it. That leaves UNC with 1:12 and no timeouts to try and find a winner. Drake May gets them all the way to the 50, but with time running low, he gets harassed by the Virginia pass rush on a play and throws a bad pick straight to James Jackson. Virginia kneel it out for one of the, as I've said, the biggest ACC shocks in years. Ryan, I don't think anybody saw this coming. 24-point road dogs Virginia, who have struggled. They've been good in conference. They've been losing narrowly, but this was UNC's season, and Virginia come into their house and put them down.
Yeah, UNC, all the optimism what a year it could have been. Like, realistically, for me, they were the only threat to Florida State. Like I say, because Duke, yeah, okay, kind of ticking by without Riley, and now he's back. But that is, yeah, Drake May, yeah, potential first overall draft pick. It inexcusable is kind of word I was like. To be fair, play a spotlight. I know Tony Muskett really well, the former FCS standout for the Monmouth Hawks, senior quarterback, undersized dual threat. Fair, his first year in the FBS, having a really good year. 800 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I didn't expect too much more from him, especially on a team that I say is not exactly littered with explosiveness, and the offensive line is absolutely dire. It's been out trying to get him killed every week, so fair play to them. Yeah, but this was one of those where no one sees it coming. The UNC players, fans left stunned. Season kind of left in tatters now, like I say, because I don't know, it's hard to see how they claw their way back now. They kind of need a Florida State to slip up. Like I say, their playoff hopes are over. Even if they win the ACC, that's it. Like UNC are done. Yeah. Like Drake May did everything he could, like you say, apart from the game-winning drive, like you say, even without no timeouts, like 1 minute 20, like that's an age. Like, we've seen quarterbacks with 30, 40 seconds move 80, 70, 90 yards. So their clock management was poor. Like you say, when he felt the tiniest bit of pressure and realised their season was coming down to it, yeah, he throws a terrible pick. That's just, I suppose, naive of a young man, so I'm not going to hold that against him. But full credit where it's due, Virginia Cavaliers, yeah, the past 12 to 18 months have been bad on the field. They've been very worrying off the field, and this just feels like it kind of was like the whole state sighing a breath of relief, like a release. Like, they kind of deserve this. It's been coming, and it does bode well for the future, at least.
Yeah, 3 of their conference games they've lost were by 3 points or less. So this has been coming. It's been they've not been getting blown out very often. I mean, they've lost. I know they lost a couple of G5 games in the non-con, but from where they've been, I mean, it's a big win for Tony Elliott. For Mike Collins, I mean, 3 touchdowns for him after what happened last year. His redemption story continues, but this was such a great game from Virginia. They are not as good a team as UNC. I mean, like, talent-wise, they are not, and they know that. So what did they go out and do? They went and did, like the quote thing, when everyone, like when the Lions play a good offense, we say, right, run the ball, win the time of possession. Well, it's exactly what Virginia did in this. 242 yards on the ground on 51 carries at just a smidge under 5 yards per carry meant they won the time of possession 37 minutes to 23 minutes. And the crazy part was, in those 23 minutes, UNC put up 520 yards of offense. That was more than Virginia got in the entire game, and they had the ball for 15 minutes less. But it came, there's only so much you can do with 23 minutes of possession in a game. Virginia wore the clock down, ran the ball, even when they were 10 points down at the start of the third and they turned it over on downs on the road, massive underdog, 10 points down. It's easy to go and run the ball, but for them, they stuck to their principles, they stuck to the run game, and I mean, it just showed up on the day, didn't they? I mean, like I said, they were 115th and 113 ranked coming into this on the offensive line for sacks and tackles for loss. They gave up 1 sack and 1 tackle for loss the entire game. That side of the run game did its job, the offensive line did its job, the D-line did its job when it needed to. It's a big win for them.
Yep. Like you say, all the stats, everything that leaned in UNC's favour, kind of just, meaningless on paper. But it's interesting to see one thing still maintains. Like I said, Sam Howell, he carried UNC, their defence was terrible, and Drake May's picked up right where Sam left off. Like I say, you can make a case that the UNC are the USC of the ACC. Like I say, they're all offence, and they've got very little defence. It does not show its teeth very often. And they do win a lot of games, and they played really well, but how many times has he had to rely on his defence to get the job done for him? Drake May has been near perfect like you say, and everything has gone his way. So some things just haven't changed. And the Tar Heels, like I say, as long as they continue to struggle on that side of the ball and their offense does put up 30, 40 points a week, these kind of things are going to keep happening, unfortunately.
So it's funny you should mention that, because that's the next point I'm going to go on to. With UNC, this now, there's a trend with them. We talk a lot about frauds this season. We don't really talk about UNC as a fraud, because I kind of feel like we know they're not a big team. Like, they're not a big game team, and this backs it up. So since 2015, they have been an AP top 10 ranked team for 6 games. They are 1-5 in those 6 games. And they have also, since 2020, they've lost 6 games in which they were double-digit favourites. So you can kind of see a trend here, can't you? They are a very good team. Like, say, on offense, they have produced some absolutely class talent for the NFL, and some great offenses. But the defense is just continually a sieve. You're coming up against one of the worst O-lines in football, and you manage a sack and a tackle for loss in the entire game. You can't let that happen. You're coming up against the 130th ranked run offense. You let them run on you for 250 yards. You can't let that happen. I mean, for Matt Brown there, they're not going anywhere with him. It's year 4 of the second reign. I know they're doing well on paper and they've won a lot of games, but if you can't win games when you're in the AP top 10, if you can't win games when you're heavy favourites, then surely you've hit your ceiling, and something's got to change for them.
Nope, I agree. When the lights shine brightest, the UNC Tar Heels shit the bed constantly. And if you're only getting to 9-10 wins a season, and you cannot get through that glass ceiling like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, if you can't break through and you can't make an ACC title game when the ACC is not very good, then something's got to change. And Matt Brown, like I say, one of the greatest college coaches of like the modern era. I will not take that away from him. He is an all-time great. But yep, they're just stuck in their ways. And honestly, I'd like to see what a younger, hungrier guy with different ideas could do with this team. I think it's time for him to step aside. I think he's taken them, now he's saying 2 spells, as far as they can go. And they're only going to get so lucky about hitting on back-to-back quarterbacks. Like I say, because if there's no one in the pipeline next, then things will get very difficult in Raleigh.
Yeah, and this is why I don't believe they've got a chance against Florida State. If Virginia and that 130th ranked run defense can run for 250 yards on them, what the hell's Florida State going to do to them? They could run for 300, 350. They could keep the ball for 40, 45 minutes. Not even give Drake May a sniff of the field. So they have hit a ceiling. They could still go and win the ACC. They could, because they're still one of the next best teams afterwards. But it's disappointing. And for them, 24-point home favourites, and you're in the top 10. 1-5 since 2015 as a top 10 team. History's saying that something's got to change there. So well done, Virginia. Terrific win for them. Got to give them their credit, and it's great for them. So enjoy that. With UNC, however, they've got some great players. Amari and Hampton, another 100-yard game. Tez Walker, 142 yards for him. So these are another couple of guys who are going to hit the NFL in a few years and flourish, right?
Yeah, they'll. UNC won't hold players back. Like you say, they may struggle, they may never win anything, but they'll continue to be a conveyor belt for top NFL talent. Like I say, they just don't win anything in college. But yeah, they're still a good pro team. Like I say, they prepare players well for the next level. At some point it'll all click for UNC. Like I say, it'd be sad, it'd be a tragedy if it didn't.
Yeah, you do want to see him do it. You want to see more competition in that conference
as well. They're still going to be a top 3 draft pick.
Oh yeah.
No. I don't know how his game will translate to next level, but some people do like him more than Caleb Williams.
See,
if I'm a betting man, I'm going to put 10, 20 quid on him going first overall.
See, I've never understood the 1 and 2 ranking with them. It's always been 1A and 1B for me. Caleb's on a team with superstars. I mean, I know Drake does, but Drake's on a much harder team, which is going to hold him back. We saw it with Sam Howell and Spencer Rattler. You know, Sam Howell got held back, whilst Caleb gets all the help in the world, and even that team sucks at the minute. So that's maybe saying something about his temperament to win them games. So, but yeah, great for Virginia. Anyhow, we will move it on. And I've got another main game. I also want to talk about another team today. I did the whole putting a spotlight on a team thing, wanting to bring a bit of love to teams who were doing well and deserve some praise. And for 5 continuous weeks, I picked teams and they lost. And I stopped it last week. But you know what? I want to get right one of these days. And there's another team who we need to talk about, who needs some love this season. And I'm just going to talk about them in this segment here. And that is the UNLV Rebels. And we talked about, you know, Nevada, Las Vegas, the uni there. I was not happy with how they fired Marcus Arroyo last year. 5 wins. They're moving in the right direction. They look like they're doing well, but it's not enough for the boosters. They fire him. In comes Bob Odom. I mean, I like him from his Arkansas days, so always going to have a thing for Arkansas guys, but I mean, he's doing the job. He's built on the work that Arroyo's doing. The Rebels are 6-1 this season. They have a Power 5 scalp against Vanderbilt, and the only loss they've had this season is against the Michigan Wolverines. And I mean, they're absolutely pile driving everybody they come up against this year. They've had the lesser side of the Mountain West so far. So the wins have come against Bryant, against Vanderbilt, against UTEP, against Hawaii, Nevada, and this weekend gone against Colorado State. To be 6-1, you've got 3 big games coming up. They're away at Fresno State this weekend coming, then they're at home to Wyoming and away to Air Force. But this team, there's something about them this year that makes them look really dangerous. So Brennan Marion was brought in on the offense. His speciality is the go-go offense, so that is the high-tempo, running downhill game where you put up all sorts of fancy formations, receivers and that to lighten the box and get up there. And it's working wonders. They've scored 40-plus points in 5 of their 6 wins this season. The only time they didn't was the weekend just gone against Colorado State. They put up 25. But even this weekend just gone, so they showed a lot of mental fortitude in this game. Colorado State hit a 55-yard field goal with 44 seconds left in this game, which was a record, a career high for the CSU kicker. They took a 23-22 lead. They had 40 seconds and 2 timeouts left, and Jordan Maia, the quarterback, got them all the way down to the Colorado State 10. Big completions to Ricky White, who was the former Michigan State wide receiver, and Jacob DeJesus, and they're able to kick a walk-off chip field goal there for them. But things are looking so positive. The run game, Vincent Davis, the leading rusher, 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 5.5 yards per carry. Jayden Thomas, 319 yards at 5 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns. Donovan Lester, 325 yards at 5.5 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns. Courtney Reese, 170 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. And then in the receiving game, Doug Brumfield was meant to be the quarterback there. I'm massively high on him. You'll have heard me mention him before. He got injured early on. So as I say, Jaden Maia, his backup, has come in. Is throwing at 65% on the year. 1,311 yards, 5 touchdowns, just 2 picks. And Ricky White is balling out. Like I say, the former Michigan State wide receiver. 567 yards, 2 touchdowns for him on the year. Jacob DeJesus, the other main guy, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the defense has been on an absolute tear. They have 11 picks on the season already. This is a defense that takes away a lot in sacks. They're a top 50 unit. In tackles for loss, they're a top 50 unit. I mean, we talk, right, about UNLV as like one of these Mountain West teams. The Mountain West has been bad recently. There's been a whole plethora of teams at the bottom of the Mountain West, and you've kind of been waiting to see who rises out of that. And Bob Odom and UNLV seem to be the team that are doing that. The go-go offense looks amazing. The defense, because that's Odom's speciality, is looking like it's on a tear. And they beat a very good Colorado State team this week, and we saw them against Colorado. And for them to come back, like with 40 seconds left in that situation where you think they've lost and they can still win, I mean, hats off to the job he's doing there this year with the Rebels.
Yeah. It's funny how things happen. Like I say, a lot of questions and eyebrows raised last year. Like I say, when a coach who was deemed to overachieve, getting, like I say, to a handful of wins, thinks that he's done really well, suddenly finds himself out of work, and the people are saying, well, that'll come back to bite them. They won't get anyone better than him that wants to come in and coach them. And, well, how wrong we were. Like I say, Odom's come in and he's galvanised them. He's picked up, he's improved on everything that they were doing last year. Like I say, it's not like a completely new team's inherited. Like, he's inherited a strong core. So a lot of the work and foundations were laid down for himself. Like I say, they've got a defense that is up there. I'm pretty sure Liberty lead the college football in 16 interceptions. I think they lead the division FBS right now. So to have that many is a credit to themselves. Like I say, was it 11? So that's a really strong by their defense, getting second takeaways, making job a lot the shorter field, giving their offense a lot less to do. And then when backs against the wall, they look like they might slip up 1 week. They've got one chance, 1 minute drill to get down there and kick a game winner, and they get the job done. And they're bowl eligible, aren't they? Like I said, they've got that only one FBS win on their resume currently, and who knows? Like you say, the landscape in the Mountain West right now is not just shifted; it's seismic. Boise State are no more. They're an afterthought. No one cares about them. They're struggling. And new powers are emerging. Like I said, Air Force, Fresno State, they've had their share of the spoils. Wyoming. Who's to say that UNLV can't be one of those teams? And the next 3 games are going to be fascinating. Let's see just how far this team has come when they're going up against the relative big boys. The title contenders,
Yeah, and we've
they get 1 or 2 wins out of those next 2 games. You've got to put them in as a potential championship team. So, they've done the hard work. They've got their bowl game. If you'd have offered them that at the start of the season, they'd have bit your hand off. But now you've got it, it's not enough. You've got to strive for more. You've got your safety net to fall back on now, but now go out and just go all attack and try to get 8 or 9 wins on the year. And if they do that, like I say, Odom, who knows? Someone could tap him up very quickly, the coordinators, but they also could pull in some good portal talent next year as well. This might not be that 1 year flash in the pan if all goes well. This could be the start of them turning corner as a franchise.
Absolutely. Sorry if I just cut out very briefly there. I think there was a very brief cut out, but we're back on. But I think we're looking at potentially, if he can win 2 of these 3 games against in the next 4, you're looking at a dark horse Coach of the Year candidate, I reckon, for the job he's done there. This is going to be like a Willie Fritz and Tulane thing last year, but it is incredible what they've done. And, teams seem to be struggling how to play them. Brent asks what kind of offense is UNLV running this year. They're running the go-go. So Brennan Marion, who is their offensive coordinator, he developed this concept of offense. So the go-go is basically high tempo, hence the words go-go, but you're running the ball downfield. But how you do it so well is you come up with all these extravagant formations with receivers out wide in bunch formations, spread out, all this type of stuff. And you're doing it so fast that the opposition defenses lighten their box to deal with it, which means you put yourself in favourable situations to run the ball. And you can see they've got 4 running backs there who are running upwards of 5 yards, well, up and around 5 yards per carry. 2 are above 5, 2 are just below 5. So when you're getting a first down every 2 carries on average, it's working. The run game is setting up the pass. And Mayava, the quarterback, just needs to do enough in games to get them into short yardage situations. So the running backs are running it in. They've got 2 guys with 7 touchdowns on the year already. at running back. That's all they're doing. It's a very elegant system, and I like watching it. So, yeah, and that OC developed that specific brand. So, who better to implement it than the guy who created it? So that's what they're using there this year. But yeah, we're going to see them. We're going to talk about them in future weeks. So I'm praying they're on the road at Fresno State this week. Now, this might not have been the week to pick them, but I believe in them. Fresno State, as Ryan said, are not that great this year, and we'll talk about the conferences later to let you know where everything stands. But I think they're third in the conference at the minute, so go UNLV. We are rooting for you there. Right, let's move it on. So there are main games. Gonna go into the upset corner now, and right, we get to talk about one of our good predictions this time. This was in our pick watch last week. Utah and USC. This was at the Coliseum at USC's home, and I know you wanted to pick Utah to win this one. I did, but it was all a question of, can the backup quarterbacks do enough to back up Utah's elite defense and the running game? And hey ho, what do you know? It absolutely was. This was a ding-dong one with USC going up early, 14-7, and then Utah just took over. That defense continues to absolutely suck. So Bryson Barnes, the backup Utah quarterback, he went 14 of 22, 235 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. He also rushed 9 times for 74 yards and a touchdown as well, although he did fumble the ball twice and he lost one of them, but it didn't really matter in the end there. And on USC side, Caleb Williams, 24 of 35, 256 yards, no touchdowns on the day for him. It came through the running game. He had a rushing touchdown. Zacharias Branch had a rushing touchdown. Marshawn Lloyd had a rushing touchdown. But once again, Ryan, the USC offense, it's really good. It's one of the best in college football, but every offense goes through a patch where it's not so great, and that's where having a good defense comes in. And now that the offense has slowed, the entire country is seeing just how fraudulent USC are. We said this from day one when no one else considered it, how bad they were, and I think they might be even worse than even we thought.
Yeah, there's no plan B with USC. When things don't go well on offense, defense can't bail them out. Gets very few takeaways, forces very few 3 and outs. Havoc rate, not great, and gets exposed by, a really average backup. Like I said, I've not been impressed with Bryson Barnes this year. He's done his job, he's stood in there, but Utah not winning games by throwing the ball. Like I said, doing it by, playing a star safety at running back. Like I say, he is one story for the year, Simone Varkey. He is doing ridiculous things. Like I say, he is the real Travis Hunter. But USC, one trick pony, aren't they? It's been exposed. Like I said, their run game most weeks isn't even that good. Like I say, that's why Zachariah Branch and that they're mixing up with jet sweeps, tosses, reverses, because they're trying to get the receivers touches in the run game too to try and get that. But now their defense leaves a lot to be desired, and it's not just like say now and again. It's week in, week out. Like I said, their offense has to score like 30, 35 points. Like it feels weekly. It just gets a weekly occurrence now where they're having to put up elite numbers just to squeak by. And we've seen it now that they've been worked out, they've been found out, they've been left wanting now for the last few weeks, and it's catching up with them at the worst possible time.
They just don't look good. That defense is even worse than it was in years gone by, and you've given up 34 points to a Utah offense that doesn't have a quarterback. I mean, it does now. I'll give the credit to Bryson Barnes. He's stepped into some massive shoes, and they've come up against some huge fixtures, and everyone's been, we're just going to write Utah off. They're no good without Cam Rising. Well, actually, they are. And I know you said you're not too high on Barnes, but I know you're high on the running back, Jaquindon Jackson, and 106 yards, I think, on the day for him. Like, he's really stood up in Rising's absence, and he's helping this offense to tick enough to win these big games.
Yeah, Jaquan Jackson, like you say, he's not flashy, he's not that glamorous, but he's like 6'1.5", 6'2". He's a bruiser. He's a north and south move the chains, and he's the kind of guy that is dependable. He can carry an offense when he needs to be. He just chips away, and he loosens up. He stack the box, which is what they were doing. Like I say earlier, they control the line of scrimmage. They make you try to take away the run game, and then that makes Bryson Barnes' job easier. Like I say, only had to get 240 yards, get 3 touchdowns because USC had to stop the run. Like I say, and then they don't have elite corners. They don't have an elite secondary. They can't just go man up on these guys and take away receivers. That's just not who they are.
No.
Like I say, this USC defense is worse than last year. Last year it had Tuilaipatu, one of the best defensive linemen in the country, and they were still terrible, and they didn't replace him. Like, their D line, it just don't move the pile. It don't get to the quarterback that often. It's not great finishing, and it doesn't buy time for the secondary. So, no, there's some positional groups on this USD team that are really bad and have been neglected, especially in the portal where they could have brought in transfers. But yeah, Utah not gonna win anything this year, but they're an awful team to play against because they're pretty brutal, they're tough, they're gritty, and USC, well, they're also might not win a lot this year because they can't stop anything on defense. So their offense is running out of steam.
So you mentioned the D line for USC doing nothing. I mean, it's a 9% havoc rate. 6 tackles for loss, but only one of them is in the passing game, and that was the singular sack they had on the day. It's like Utah, for all the problems without Rising, they've got an elite offensive line, they've got an elite defense, and they've got a high caliber running back. So they do what they need to with it, but USC should still be teeing off on a backup like that. They shouldn't allow him to go for 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. No interceptions whatsoever, so a really, really bad day at the office for USC, but like I say, me and Ryan are delighted because we called this a long time ago when many others wouldn't. They're a fraudulent team. Lincoln Riley is a fraudulent coach until he can prove otherwise, that he can do it with a defense. And Utah are going to be a tough team for whoever they play. They're back in the pick watch again this week. It's a rough schedule for them, but they're under no pressure. They've lost Rising for the season now. They've lost Brank. I can never say his name. Is it Keithy? Am I saying it wrong?
Queetha?
Is it Queetha? Yeah. Rising and Queethy have both been shut down for the year now. They're gone. They're out. That's the 2 biggest offensive weapons done. And they're still winning games. I mean, just all the credit in the world to him there at Utah for doing the job he has done. Absolutely sensational. Just quickly going back to UNLV, Brent goes, the only go-go's I know are in Ho Chi Minh City, Bangkok. Are you sure, Brent? Smokey Robinson sang about going to a go-go. I thought they were a party in America type thing. So I thought you'd have known about them. But yeah, the go-go's a fun offense, for sure. Matt goes, my boss is a former go-go dancer. See, I thought so. A go-go's like a party or something like that. And UNLV are having a party on offense at the minute. So Brent goes, Utah is a tough out against anybody, that is for sure. Yeah, you're 100% right. This team is doing well. 7.74 yards per play, which is 90th percentile. 9.8 yards per drop back for the quarterback is 93rd percentile. 10% explosive play rate. 42% in the red zone. Just great offense from Utah all day round on this. When the defense gave up some points, but it is USC. Keeping them down to 32 is a win in that situation. They had 120 more offensive yards. They had 11 more plays. They kept USC on the sidelines just long enough to win that. So well done to them. Let us move on to our second big upset. And I don't know. We keep coming back to this team, and I've not looked at their season as much as I want to. But Ryan, the Old Dominion Monarchs, we can't not talk about them. Every week they give us something to chat about, and this week at home to Appalachian State, who were 5.5 point road favourites, so that's about 8 or 9 points when you take home into consideration. I mean, App State should be blowing Old Dominion out the water. No, not so. The Monarchs, 28-21 winners, and this was another one where App State were leading for a big part of this game, and then sort of it's in the final half of the fourth quarter where Old Dominion just come alive, and App State have not done enough. They've not gotten far enough in front, and then the Monarchs come and bite them on the heels. They do it through the air, they do it on the ground, they do it on defense. This team now, right? So Old Dominion on the year, they are. Let me just quickly find again. Where are you? They're 4-3, but they're 3-1 in the Sun Belt. They are one of the Sun Belt frontrunners at this moment in time. We talked about the Monarchs in our Sun Belt preview, and they lost everybody this off-season. They've got a good coach, and he develops talent, but they lost everybody of note this season. They're at 4 wins through 7 weeks. I mean, what a great job he's doing there, and a massive upset for them against App State.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that live for the big occasion, especially when they're heavily rooted against. I think it kind of galvanises them. I think they're a team that love to be the underdog. I said they're the underdog most weeks, but they like to be written off, and they like to cause a surprise or an upset. And yeah, I say non-con, they've been so-so, but in the Sun Belt so far, yeah, they've been pretty much mustard. Despite losing a lot of players, a huge turnover the last few years, just in general on the roster. Like I say, not a lot of continuity has been kept, but their coach does seem to somehow manage to get a tune out of a cello that has to swap its strings every year, which is never easy. But so yeah, they're a fun team to watch. They're a difficult team to play against. They always seem like an unknown entity, and yeah, they caught App State sleeping. App State thought the job were done, like I say, but no. They were not far enough away. They'd not done enough to put them away, and they left the door ajar. And yeah, ODU came in and kicked the door down, and in the delightful fashion right at the end, like I say, they just pulled the rug from under App State's feet.
Yeah, and their season's been weird. So you start off with the defeat to Virginia Tech, which they won last year, but then they've beaten Louisiana, who they beat Texas State. Louisiana are a good team. Then they lost to Wake Forest by 3 points when they were miles in front. This that week they nearly upset them. Then they nearly got upset by Texas A&M Commerce. Remember that team we couldn't figure where they were from and we had no idea. They won that game 10-9. But then they lost to Marshall 41-35. No shame in that. And now in a row they've beaten Southern Miss, who are garbage this year, but still a good good level of opposition nonetheless. And App State now. I mean, they're away at James Madison next, and if we're talking about that next week, I'll be shocked. But, then you're at home to Coastal Carolina, away at Liberty, away at Georgia Southern, at home to Georgia State. You know what? You take a scalp or two out of that, of those 5 games. You take one big scalp out of that. That's a really good season for them. They might even sneak into a bowl game. What a result that'd be for Old Dominion.
Oh yeah, there's some big boys coming up, but it don't mean they can't play party pooper, like say James Madison. Do I think they'll beat him? No. But could they hang a few points on him? Could they give him a bit of a scare, make them work hard for it? I'd expect them to, if I'm honest. I don't see anyone on that you've just named blowing them out. I don't see anything overly one-sided, because that's just not what they're about, really. So, yeah, they are an outsider to sneak a bowl game, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, great on Old Dominion. They're in our upset column this week over App State. 4-3 on the season, 3-1 in the Sun Belt. Might we see the biggest underdog of them all rising up to the top of a conference? If they beat JMU, then the entire country's attention is going to be on them. But let us move it on. So that's the upset corner. Now we're going to move into the survivor corner for this week. And there's quite a few survivors this week. Quite a few teams who nearly got upset. And Ryan, I'm going to throw this one over to you, because that was nearly the mother of all upsets this week, involving your own Arizona State away at the Washington Huskies. I mean, did you watch any of that? Penix looked terrible. This was nearly the upset of upsets this season.
Yeah, I did manage to watch a bit, and it would have been the biggest upset of Division 1 football this year. You look at day like most of the power rankings, honestly, they are dead last in the Pac-12 every week by nearly every major outlet and writer. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong to put us there. Terrible team. And it's just sod's law that the 1 week our defence actually turns up, our offence done. Could not muster any offence whatsoever against a Washington team completely there for the taking. As you say, one of Michael Penix's worst games as a Husky, as a college quarterback. Like I say, false turnovers, they kept in the pocket. Like I say, the defence just came alive. And like I say, held the best offence probably in the nation to 15 points. Made life for Penix. But yeah, we could only muster 7 because, like I say, our quarterback situation on its own is still rough. With a better quarterback, we win that game. No shadow of a doubt. If we can muster some here. Skatibo, the run game, it's still okay, but our passing offense is why we can't win games. Because right now, it's just non-existent.
Yeah.
Just going through multiple quarterbacks yet to settle on anyone. But no, we made Washington. We made them look terrible by dragging them into an ugly game. But that's how we're going to win stuff, and it gives me hope. Just 1 week, I see one side of the ball turn out like that. The other don't. The other was pretty much useless. But it means we're a little bit closer than we are further away. And Washington breathe an almighty sigh of relief. We almost took the biggest scalp of the year, so they were glad to just get out of there with the win.
Yeah, I mean, it was Arizona State 7, Washington 15, but it wasn't until, I think it was Bourget, it was a scoop and score late on. Bourget, the quarterback, fumbled it, and Washington got a scoop and score. I think they said this is the first time in a game Washington have not scored an offensive touchdown since about 2018 or something like that. They didn't score an offensive touchdown. It was a defensive one and field goals, and that was that. That's all Washington got in this game. Arizona State, 463 yards of offense. Washington, 318. Like, 150 yards more on the ground. 158 Arizona State, just 47 for Washington at less than 4 yards per carry. It's through the air most of the stuff went. Of course, Roma Dunze, 82 yards. Jalin Polk, 100 yards, although he fumbled in this game as well. I mean, like you said, right, it was just a case of a better team on the day would have capitalised, but maybe there's a blueprint to beat Washington there. You've got to drag them down into a street fight. Oregon are a finesse team, and it was that finesse that lost them the game against them the other week. But maybe now it's like, oh, hang on, drag them deep down and dirty, and there's a way that you can make Penix unsettled and beat them. Teams should be watching what you did to them.
Yeah, don't try and play them at their own game. Don't try outscore them. You just don't do it. It just don't work. Like I say, you turn it ugly. You scrap it. Like you say, you force turnovers. You try just lay hits. Like you say, we got turnovers. We took the ball away. Like nearly 500 yards of offense and 7 points. Like that's pitiful. It's painful, but yeah, it is what it is. Eventually, one game this season, the offense and defense for Arizona State will click. Yeah. They might win a game this year that's not a terrible FCS side that they almost lost to in Sandstorm. Like I say, we'll still probably bottom in the rankings, but yeah, it was progress. Yeah, Washington, someone like say will see this and they'll be like, well, if they can do that to them, surely we can. So yeah, they showed their frailties for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Arizona State flashes there, but Washington definitely in the survivor corner this week. Another team that were in there, and you called this one as a potential upset, right? It was so close, but UCF.
Oh yeah.
So close against Oklahoma. Oklahoma walk out of this at home, 18-point favourites, 31-29, and they had to come from behind to win this one, but we're talking about unbeaten teams showing like the chink in the armour there. Oklahoma looked completely vulnerable against this UCF offense this week, and their defense really struggled to keep them in check. I mean, when John Rice Plumlee is throwing a pretty decent game, 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks on you, and he's not even running. He ran for 20 yards. He had a score there, but I mean, it was Dylan Gabriel rescuing them again. They survived by the hairs of their chinny chin chin, but you predicted there might be an upset here, and you were nearly right.
Yeah, UCF offense. It's one of the best in the nation, isn't it, statistically? Especially rushing the ball, they are pretty dominant on the offensive side of the ball. And yeah, the Oklahoma team, like I said, I've seen their frailties in recent weeks. Winning, but not by large margins. Defense giving up a lot of points and yards. And to be fair, yeah, Dylan Gabriel, the last 2 years, many a times he saved them. He's kind of got to be in the Heisman talk.
Yeah. I
suppose, like I say, for everything he's doing, he's the only reason they're still unbeaten and where they are. So he definitely doesn't get enough credit that he deserves. But yeah, they certainly dodged a bullet against the Knights, who can hold their head high knowing that they almost took them down. And yeah, that UCF still had a pretty good year. They're still doing really well, and they're still a very dangerous team. But yeah, this was one of those nearly ones I just saw. I thought of an inkling, I saw it, but yeah, they fell short in the end, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that Oklahoma team, you're going to put a bullseye on that secondary now. So Javon Baker, 5 catches, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns for UCF, 26.8 yards per play. Randy Pittman, 2 catches, 50 yards, 25 yards per play. Kobe Hudson had 1 for 23. The deep shots, kept hitting them with deep shots. And they didn't really have an answer for it. And then you mix that in, and that's what their run game does. It opens up downfield because you're having to come up and try and stack the box and stop them running on you. And this is what you do. So it was a very valiant effort from UCF. I don't think they're a bad team this year. Feels like they've lost a few games, but it feels like they're pretty good because Plumlee got injured for a bit. So Oklahoma, very, very lucky and just in the survivors column this week. Close to being in the upset column, and their near mates in the Big 12 joined them. Texas, 31-24 winners on the road against Houston, and this was 24-all going late into this one. And Houston, they've actually been pretty good this year. I didn't think they'd been a good team because I thought most of the times we've mentioned them, they'd lost. But in the Big 12, they're doing relatively well this year, and Texas continue. They're struggling at the minute. They may have won this game, but they lost to Oklahoma. This Houston offense, without Clayton Tune and co., put down a lot of offense on them in this, and it was only thanks to, the heroics at quarterback, finally from Quinn Ewers, to lead a clutch drive for them. But they got very lucky in this one again, Ryan. This could have easily been an upset.
Yeah, and we know Houston love overtime. They know when they get into the late in the fourth into overtime that anything's possible. They've won a few of them in the last 2 years, and yeah, like I said, Dana Holgorsen always has a supercharged, powered, potential high-scoring offense. It doesn't matter who's under center, who's in it. He's a good offensive-minded coach, and Houston are always plucky. And yeah, Oklahoma. Texas survive, but what cost as well? They've lost Quinn Ewers, haven't they? I believe he's out now for 2-3 weeks, apparently. So they did survive the scare, but they might have paid the most ultimate price for it, unfortunately. But yeah, the Cougars, the teams, I'd say of all the conferences that have had new teams come in, the Big 12 have hit the ground running quickest. Houston and BYU, they've looked pretty good joining the Big 12 straight away. A lot of other teams that have struggled, that have joined new conferences, but especially when you look at also the extra teams that have joined the Big 12, it's about to get really fun in there. Like I said, the depth between the okay teams and the good teams is pretty stacked. Yeah. Like I said, and then they'll try to bridge the gap. But yeah, the Big 12 is going to be super interesting next year. Like I said, there's just a lot of talent all across the country in it.
I label it an exciting dumpster fire Like, because dumpster fires can be like that. Everyone, if there's a lot of bad or mediocre teams in there, then it just produces tons of fun games because you never know who's going to win. But I feel like that's what it is at the minute. Because, I mean, like, Oklahoma State, we talked so much trash about them the first few weeks, wondering if Gundy's job was finally on the line. And yeah, like, they're nearly at the top of the conference. This is what happens with the non-cons. They just give you this weird sense of, just... They can create stories that aren't there. Because it doesn't matter until the conference starts, really, for a lot of these teams. So, but it is fun. But yeah, Texas, they're not looking good right now. And we're going to have to see. They'll not play... Did they... Arch won't play, will he? Did they play Arch? I feel like I would have heard if they played Arch. I don't think he's going to play in his...
I don't know who came in as the relief, but I don't know if he has to start now. I don't know who the Texas backup is.
I feel like I would have heard if Arch was going to play. That'll be a big thing. So they're probably going to redshirt him this year. So anyhow, let's move it on. Texas narrowly survived. And I think the next one, I think you called this as a near upset as well. Ole Miss on the road at Auburn. 28-21 winners, and again, such an unconvincing performance from a team who, a few weeks ago we were expecting a lot more of. Ole Miss just completely messed up the schedule against Alabama, as every team has this year, annoyingly. No one can beat the worst team they've had in forever. And you said on the road, Auburn, even though they've been poor as, you just have a lot of reservations about this Ole Miss team. And your reservations were right. I mean, Jackson Dart, he was 10 of 17, 202 yards, but a touchdown, a pick. And Charlie Pollock threw a pick on a trick play. Quinshon Junkins, the guy they're having to go through again, 124 yards and a touchdown for him. He just continues to be amazing. Ulysses Bentley backed him up well, but it's that run game, really, keeping them there. And on Auburn's side... Peyton Thorne was 9 of 13 for 100 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Robbie Ashford was 3 of 4 for 22 yards and a pick. They have... Their offense just doesn't exist in the passing aspect of it. Again, running back, where they have to do it. Jarquez Hunter, he's actually having a really good season. No one talks about Auburn, so no one talks about him. But 2 scores on the ground for him, 91 yards, 6 yards a carry, doing a lot with nothing. But this is a bad Auburn team, and Ole Miss just could not put them away because they just did not look good either.
No, it's weird. Auburn, I've watched them look better in their losses against Ole Miss and Alabama than I have in their wins. Because their wins aren't convincing, but in their losses, they against good teams, they make life really difficult. And yeah, because Hunter is probably one of the most underrated running backs in the nation right now. This was a game for the purists, like I say, very little to talk about in the way of actual passing offense. Like I say, Jackson Dart, very talented, but lacks consistency. Peyton Thorne, well, he's Peyton Thorne. Not a great pickup. Robbie Ashford, not a great pickup the year before him either. Like I say, they're 2 very lackluster guys. Neither of them really is QB1. Yeah. That's kind of the reason where Auburn are the way they are, because lack of dependable quarterback play. But defense is plucky, can get turnovers, and a run game. And yeah, came close. Ole Miss continued to ride their luck. Like I say, they're just really unconvincing. Their record does not do or serve them justice whatsoever. They just don't look like they've got that many wins in them. And the run game continue, to carry them. Yeah. There is just a lot of Quinshon Junkins this year.
Yeah.
As like it was last year.
And he's looking really good. I think they've got to be close to pulling Dart. You've got Sanders there, you've got Will Howard there. Give them a go. See what they can do. See if they can do a little bit better. Because at this point, you're not playing for much, really. I don't think they're going to do much in the SEC. Lisa goes, I wonder why Texas didn't put Archie in. I've just checked, they didn't put him in. They played 2 other guys, actually. My assumption would be they are redshirting him this year and getting him ready. Because putting him in when Quinn Ewers is in the team. Quinn Ewers is undisputed starter. I think if you put Arch in, you create a power struggle if he does well. So I think they'll just redshirt him this year, and then you'll see him start next year when Ewers has to declare or leaves. Which will be he will either leave or he'll declare, and I don't think it's declare, because I don't think he's got the stock behind him. But very quickly, we'll go back to that game. Houston, we were talking about quarterbacks, but Donovan Smith needs to be someone getting recognition now there, doesn't he? He had 380 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Just a 1 pick there for him, but Houston's more of a friendly system, but he's a good quarterback, and that offense, it doesn't miss Clayton Tune this year.
No, it's not really skipped a beat. Donovan Smith has come in, picked up right where Clayton left, and is leading a strong offense from the front. Seems like a good leader. Like I say, he offers all the skills and tools that Dana liked and has had in previous guys like Clayton. So, no, it's not slowed down whatsoever, and that doesn't surprise me. Like I say, it is a very quarterback-friendly scheme. Like I say, it's a mixture of air raid, RPO with a little bit of run game littered in. So it is a nice offense to play in, but just because everyone has the keys to the car don't mean they can drive it. Like I say, it don't mean just anyone can do it. And Donovan Smith, yeah, he's having a good year, taking over from one of the best AAC quarterbacks of all time. Big old shoes to fill when Clayton Tune left, and Donovan is doing a good job of it. Yeah, and I reckon Houston, if not next year, year after, could very well be in a very competitive place in the Big 12.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They could be up there if they adjust well. Matt goes, I'm pretty sure Ewers has to declare this year. Does he? I thought he redshirted while he was at Ohio State. And he's had, 2 years at Texas now? I think he must have some eligibility left. I could be wrong, but he didn't play before his Texas days, so you should be able to get eligibility for that, but I don't know, we'll see. Last one on the Survivor Corner, the Tulane Green Wave, 35-28 winners at home against North Texas. They were massively favorited in this one. I can't remember how it was, I swear it was by about 15 or 20. But the Mean Green put up a big fight in this. Two offenses just having a go at one another. Both got 450 yards on the day. Chandler Rogers, the North Texas quarterback, he threw for 350 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Spread it all over the field. There's 7 or 8 different guys who got significant yardage there for them. But by hook or by crook, we talked about Tulane. They lost a lot this offseason. When we did the previews for the conference, they lost so much coming into this year, and you're wondering, can they do it again? But despite all the losses, and I know this was a tough one this week, but they just keep finding ways to grind it out. And Michael Pratt, I know he's so underappreciated. 15 of 21, hella good, 194 yards, 3 touchdowns, just the 1 pick on the day. Another good QBR for him. It was a narrow one here, but considering the situation they've been in, it's actually quite impressive what they've done this year so far.
Yeah, what they're doing this year is more impressive than what they did last year, because as you mentioned, well, Ty J. Spears is gone. Like you say, he was a big part of what happened last year, and when they lost, I thought they had to regress. I thought, like I say, Pratt is another year older. He's one of the more mature quarterbacks. I thought there's no way they can do what they did last year and be that New Year's 6 group of 5 team, be the best of the rest. But yeah, they plugged, they played, and they looked just as good this year, if not even better in some departments. And they're still, again, one of the front runners to make that big New Year's 6 bowl. Yeah. Like I say, there are just not many teams right now that can compete with them in the nation.
No.
And they just continue to find ways to win games, and that's the most impressive thing about them. And a potential another head coach of the year candidacy for doing it again could be for instance. So yeah, right now, not a lot can stop the Green Wave. Like I said, they just seem pretty untouchable as the G5 level.
Call them the Green Tidal Wave because no one can stop them. Matt goes, he meant eligibility, but he should do. Do you think Quinn Ewers should declare this year? And this is the thing. Do you think he should, given the quarterback class that's around?
I'd say no, but that's only if he can get a Premier landing spot.
If they can win the Big 12, I reckon he might. I don't know if he's not in the championship game and he's not in a big bowl game. He's not got somewhere to showcase himself. I would lean towards no at the minute, but if they win the Big 12, then I would change my stance. I don't know if he can with all these other guys in it. I don't even know where he'd get drafted.
I don't think he'll do well in the draft wherever he goes anyway.
Would he be a Kellen Mond type on day 2, or would he be a DTR on day 3? I don't know where.
I think he's a day 3 kind of guy, but I also don't think he can do much to improve it.
No,
I think he's got to go to one of the all-star games, like the Hula Bowl or Senior Bowl. That's the only way he's going to get anywhere realistically.
Yeah, it is. Agreed. So yeah, I'm not sure with him at the minute. So that's everything for the Survivors this week. Then finally we're going on into the Pick Watch games before we mention anything else we want to mention. I regressed from 9-1 last week to 5-5. Some teams let me down. First up on Thursday night, James Madison beating Marshall 20-9. However, literally about half an hour before the game kicked off, it wasn't until I found out that Rasheen Ali had been ruled out of this game with an injury, which was unfair, but I stuck with my pick. I took it like a big boy. James Madison played well, but in fairness, Marshall, to hold them to 20 points without their leading running back, without any semblance of offense whatsoever, that Marshall defense is legit, right? I mean, to keep them to so little. I watched this all the way through, and I was so impressed with stop after stop after stop after stop, and how great they were. They could challenge, but they need Ali back. If he's out for any portion of time, their Sunbelt hopes are dead.
Yeah, he is the fire starter. He is the offense runs through him. Like I said, they're a run first team. The run sets up the pass, not the other way around, unfortunately, Marshall. And yeah, their defense is stingy. It made James Madison work really hard for it. It held them to a respectable number of points where if they had more offense, then they would have had a chance. But yeah, he's got to come back for them to have any sort of competition at all. But yeah, James Madison, like I say, even when teams make life difficult for them, they still manage a way to they just ground that one out to get over the line. And that's a sign of a good team. They win flashy and big most weeks, but sometimes they've got to do it the other way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they just continue to be a juggernaut. They don't know how to lose games, and it's ridiculous they're not in the Sunbelt title picture. They should be. I mean, they're clearly one of the best teams, if not the best team in the Sunbelt. They should be playing for it, but I mean, I guess lucky for our Sunbelt predictions that they're not. Otherwise, we'd be having egg on our face big time. Right, I've tried to avoid it. I've put it in like the least visible section possible, so late that everybody's turned off and is not listening to us anymore. But Penn State, Ohio State was in the Pick Watch, and people thought I might have put it as the main game, but no. Penn State 12, Ohio State 20. James Franklin's record in these big games continues to be horrendous, and I don't know, right? What is it? Everything told us, like history told us, that Ohio State were going to win. History told us that Penn State are incapable of winning when it matters, and unfortunately for us, I missed most of this because I was at work, but I went back and watched a very extended highlights from it afterwards, and Drew Aller looked like a guy who was in his first major game ever on the road under severe pressure, and all facets of that team buckled. The defense did really well. To keep Ohio State down to 20 at home is a big achievement, but the offense, just everything they're about, just wilted in the spotlight, and unfortunately for us, so far, unless they beat Michigan, they've proven to be fraudulent this year, and they just looked so bad on offense.
Yeah. Rose-tinted spectacles, they fooled us. Is James Franklin now 0-9 against Ohio State? He is, isn't he?
1-9.
He's 1-9, yeah. So, yeah. You look back now and you think, like, we were silly. Like I said, they fooled us. Like I said, everything that's happened this season, but history always dictates what's going to happen. And we should have picked them, yeah. But I watched most of this game. It was crap. They were both crap.
Yeah.
I'd say were just as bad.
They're no less fraudulent because of this.
No, they're no less fraudulent. It was two bad teams on the day playing a bad game of football. And yeah, Ohio State won because they took away what Penn State do best, run the ball, their offensive line creating holes for the run game. And that is ultimately what the deciding factor was, because Almcord was okay. Ibuka, Marvin Harrison just always is a problem. Cade Stover chips in. But yeah, their offensive line for Penn State was severely tested. Their D-line plugged the holes. They stopped the running backs getting through and causing any real damage. And yeah, Drew Aller, when the lights, he was in the biggest stage of his college career so far, and it looked too big for him. Yeah, he was not able to rise to the occasion, unfortunately.
So I'm going to give him a pass for one game. Like, you can have one bad game. So when we started talking about this, the permutations for Penn State winning the Big Ten and that, it can still actually happen, because Michigan have still got to play Ohio State, and Michigan have still got to travel to Penn State. The little triangle, how it works: Ohio State have beaten Penn State now need to beat Michigan, and then Michigan need to beat Ohio State, because then they've all got a loss on their record. This is where it can still happen. So I'm not giving up entirely, but on the road, maybe you can understand it. There are zero excuses for Penn State against Michigan now. If they can't beat them, then I think Franklin should leave, because he's never going to crack that glass ceiling of them two. And when USC and UCLA arrive, it's going to get even harder for them, and Washington and Oregon. They're not even going to get a sniff at the top of the Big Ten, and if you can't prove that you can win a big game, you've got to put it down. But for the record, I agree with you. I said that Michigan were going to win by 3 scores last year against Ohio State. Not many people did. I was right. I think Michigan are going to win by 30 this year. I think it's going to be a clean 30-point level of victory. They are going to smash the living daylights, no pun intended, out of Ohio State. I can't wait for it, because I'm just ready to see Ohio State exposed as the frauds that they are. For Penn State, you've got to beat Michigan for me now. If you want to get me back on, go beat Michigan, and I doubt that is going to happen. Other pick watch games: Florida State beat Duke 38-20. I very valiantly picked Duke, and Duke were winning this in the third quarter until Riley Leonard got injured again, and then it all fell to pieces. But Duke were going toe-to-toe with Florida State in Tallahassee and looked really damn good. Their defense looked good, their offense looked good. They were giving Florida State a whole host of problems. But then Leonard gets injured, and then it all goes out the way there. Tennessee 20, Alabama 34. Alabama continue to get away with being absolutely trash. Air Force beat Navy 17-6. They grounded it out, and somehow, I mentioned on the pod last week that Zach Larrier had a serious knee injury that was going to keep him out forever. He played. God knows how, but he played. And he looked alright. And they won.
Did he not have the longest passing play? Like, was it
92 yards? A 92-yard touchdown pass he threw there. I'll stop it there with those three. But Air Force, Bama, Florida State, right? I mean, like Tennessee. I know you picked them, and go off on Tennessee if you want. But some teams got lucky because of injuries this week.
Yeah. The Duke game, when Riley Leonard got hurt, turned it off. I was like, I don't care, it's over.
Yeah.
I question Riley Leonard's as a pro quarterback now as well. Durability looks like an issue. Did they rush him back? Maybe I think it was too soon.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a big old red flag.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that stopped being a contest after that. And now Duke, unfortunately, it's over. The dream has died, unfortunately. Florida State, they did what they had to do. And they're still there, the cream of the crop there. Tennessee, don't know why I picked them. It's just because I don't trust Alabama. Even Alabama, I've seen them multiple times now. I don't ultimately have that much faith in them. But on the day, they were just better all around. Joe Milton's big arm just continues to be a myth, like the stock market, Bigfoot, things that people tell you are real, but you don't actually see. That just don't feel real.
Yeah, but you see, it's like you can fire a missile 1,000 miles, but if it's not accurate, it's pointless, and that's what Joe Milton is. I mean, he's averaging I think he's now sub 60% on his passes on the year, and the most quarterback scheme-friendly scheme in the country. Like, you should be getting 70% as a minimum, like Hendon Hooker was, and you can't even get that. I mean, on a day that I'm having to eat crow for some bad takes, I said this over summer, Milton, the hype was completely unwarranted. It was way overfetched. Absolutely should not have been getting the praise that he did. And I'm 100% right on that. He has done nothing, not a thing to earn praise. And it's very quickly going to die down.
Navy made life so hard for Air Force. I was impressed.
Yeah.
Air Force, they weren't at the races, but credit goes to the Navy for making life hard for them. But Air Force dodged a potential banana skin, and they are laser focused heading towards a potential title game. That was a difficult game to overcome, but they did. And yeah, they're at the business end of the year now, and they've still got all their own destiny in their own hands, I suppose. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, the Air Force Falcons continue to fly. Lisa goes, Joe Milton isn't even close to Hendon Hooker. No, he is not. He's not fit to lace his boots. Hooker is so much better, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The rest of the pick watch, it was a bad week for me in the MAC. Eastern Michigan lost 13-20 on the road to Northern Illinois. Toledo just about survived a huge comeback from the Miami Redhawks, 21-17. But this was a big old gap at one point, but really fun game. Enjoyed watching this, and I think that is going to be the title game in a few weeks' time. UTSA blew out Florida Atlantic 36-10. Me and Ryan both picked that one, absolutely loved it. And another one we picked, the Miami Hurricanes to beat Clemson 28-20, although it took 2 lots of overtime to do so. Some interesting ones in there, right? But we called it last week with UTSA. When you have won 2 titles on the bounce, you're a team that can show up when the lights are brightest, and Florida Atlantic have not been in that situation. And despite being an underdog for this, and we talked about this last week, the matchup was terrible for them, and yet they just came out and swatted them aside like a fly.
Yeah, they've got pedigree. They've earned their respect. Teams have got to show them respect, even if their season to date has not gone great. They can turn up when they want, and they can put dispatch anyone when they want there. Going back to one of the other games now, Red Hawks.
Yeah.
Brett Gabbert broke his leg, didn't he?
Oh God, was it that serious? I didn't realise.
I think it was. He's out. His year's over. I think he's had surgery.
Oh
so
God.
I think their title hopes might have just ended.
Oh no.
I'm pretty sure it's a severe leg injury. I think he's had surgery. The year's over.
Oh well.
Which is sad to see, because last year ended with injury too, didn't it?
Yeah.
And they could have made a title game. So he is one unlucky guy, like you say.
Oh, that's rotten. That is. You don't ever want to see that happen.
Yeah, and then the other one, like you say, Miami, they got lucky. Like you say, dragged in at double overtime. It's the toss of a coin, and it really is back and forth.
Yeah,
fun game to watch. Not for all the right reasons, but two teams just having a good old fashioned mid off.
Yeah,
5 or 6 quarters. But yeah, Miami could still end the season pretty strong.
Yeah, they're 2-2 in the ACC at the minute. There's a whole lot of mid behind Florida State right now, so.
Flames have gone out to play off. Season is now a damp squib.
Yeah,
Will Shipley's just thinking about the draft.
Yeah, all done. You're playing to preserve your health now. He doesn't need to prove anything else. Preserve your stock for the draft. Off you go. He's going to get picked really high. So, yeah, unfortunate for them. Anything else you want to mention? I thought it was fun. The other thing I want to mention, the Pittsburgh game against Wake Forest. Remember 2 years ago when Pittsburgh won the ACC on the fake slide from Kenny Pickett, when then they brought in the whole legislation to start to bring in, when a quarterback starts to slide, you judge his progress as down, which was funny because in this game against Wake Forest this weekend just gone, Christian Velour, I think it is, the backup who's been playing in absentum of Phil Jurkovic. they're driving to see out the game. They're on a third down. He keeps it on a quarterback keeper, slides down, starts the slide before the line of scrimmage, before the line to gain. They have to punt it away. Wake Forest come back, score a touchdown, steal the game from underneath them. I know it's been a source of huge controversy because he had grass in front of him and could have gone, but he thought he was being clever sliding to stop himself getting hit when he should have dived. But I just thought that was a delicious part of irony because 2 years ago, Wake Forest got screwed by that in a much bigger environment, I may add, but karma evens itself out over time.
Yeah. What a cowardly thing to do, eh? You put your head down, you dive forward, and you get the line again. Try to be too clever, and yeah, Wake Forest this year, they're bad. You've got at Pittsburgh, don't get me wrong, Pitt aren't good,
No.
but you've got to be beating the Deacon Demons for most teams this year. They have looked pretty rotten most weeks here now. So yeah, they get some sort of revenge. It won't ever truly heal what happened last year, because like I said, how the circumstances happened.
No.
But yeah, it was funny to see it catch up with them quickly. And yeah, two teams not really going anywhere, but it was funny to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you know what? I just do want to mention a couple of others before we do this. First off, Mizzou, the Tigers. How good do they continue to be? Absolutely slapped around South Carolina at home, 34-12. They were up big at the half, and then they sauntered almost through the second half of this one. But South Carolina never ever threatened a comeback. The Tigers are legit. They are on a bye now. They go to Georgia next game. And I'm not saying this as hyperbole. I genuinely believe they are good enough to go and win there.
So do I. I will pick Missouri to beat Georgia. Georgia have done just enough in some games, more than enough in others. But for a team that's probably the best team in the nation, it's one of the worst best team in the nation I've seen for years.
Yeah.
Like I say, also, Brock Bowers is gone. I think he's hurt. This season's over. So
I think he's back for the. I think they said he could be back for the playoffs, but it's a high ankle sprain.
Season is over, but yeah.
Yeah.
Missouri have got all the momentum right now, and Georgia, like I say, right now getting that bad news, licking their wounds. This game will have a long way in deciding what happens in the SEC this year. And yeah, I like what the Tigers are doing.
Yeah.
Like I say, and momentum is a real thing. Like I said, it took apart Shane Beamer's side that, yeah, to be fair, South Carolina aren't shared on what he did in his first year.
Yeah.
Like I said, they have regressed quite a lot, unfortunately. But yeah, they got the job done in the SEC, stayed basically perfect. And now they have title aspirations, and they get to go and try cause the biggest upset of the year, and not just cause the biggest upset, but they will thrust themselves probably into top 5 in the rankings, and they'll go first in the SEC. Like if they beat Georgia, they've basically got 3 of 10 fingers on an SEC championship game.
And the entire nation will be behind them, including Wolverines fans
Everyone will be rooting for them.
Including Wolverines fans who at this point will be sick of Georgia being ranked 1. And even me, with my I judge Michigan through a much harsher microscope than most teams. Even I think they should be ranked 1 at this point. It's ridiculous that Georgia's still ranked 1. They've done nothing to prove it. And Michigan just blow out teams and steal their signs and all this. So, you know, it's fair. Other bits I want to mention. Shout out to lowest scoring game of the week. Nevada beating San Diego State 6-0. Don't know how. That sounds like a real... That doesn't even sound like a sickos game. That's like a sub-sickos game. That must be terrible there. Shout out to Rutgers, who are bowl eligible, Ryan, as well. The Scarlet Knights.
What's it, like 2014? They made a bowl game?
First time since 2014, Rutgers are bowl eligible. And I know you've been flying that flag this year, so that was great for them. I know it was Indiana they beat, but they would traditionally lose games
Speaking
like
of Big
that
Ten,
on their
I'd
go.
like to talk about one of the craziest endings to a game I've seen in a long time.
Go for it. Floor is yours.
Oh God! Anyone that watched Minnesota v Iowa, oof!
It's a sicko.
Yeah. The game was absolutely terrible. And it came to life with like 2 minutes left. Like I say, Minnesota just trying to see out the game. Like I say, both defenses just bashing each other about for most of the game. And then, I was elated. I jumped out of my seat. Cooper DeJean, like I say, the punt he gets is at the sideline. Like I say, he does a spin move, makes the first guy miss.
It's like 7 of them.
And then crosses the entire field to try, and he thinks, like I say, he's put Minnesota. I put them away, and Iowa have taken the lead left with like 1 minute 20 left. And to be fair, by this point, Iowa have been terrible. Daxton Hill is absolutely dreadful. Like I said, came out of I didn't think were good, but Daxton Hill is bloody bad. And then, like I say, after a long debilitation, like I say, an invalid fair catch call. It is very rare you see that. Like I say, he spins his left arm like he's telling, like, people are saying it's for momentum. People are saying it's like the blockers he's telling them to get in front of him.
Yeah.
They whistle the play dead. Like I say, Minnesota get the ball back. Bearing in mind, though, for 5 minutes, the entire Minnesota bench is stood on the field, and PJ Fleck is trying to get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty against the crowd.
Yeah.
Because the players, their fans are throwing stuff at their players and booing the officials, like cans, bottles, plastic, paper. Yeah, so it took like 10 minutes to play like the final minute, and then it's just kneeled out, and Minnesota get the scruffiest, dirtiest kind of win in the end. And Iowa and Cooper DeJean, who I'm seeing in top 15, top 20 of first round mock drafts last year, is robbed of being another star career highlight of the year. It was a game for not even the purists. It summed up the Big Ten West so well this year. It's terrible, but that was a wild one.
I'm going to label these terrible games sub-sickos now. There are some that even sickos can't handle, but it was funny when DeJean made that catch. There were like 6 Minnesota defenders around him. You know, in like those comic skits where Batman's on the ground and there's like 8 people wailing on him, and then they all just fly backwards. It was like that. It was like 8 of them crowded him, and then he was gone, and they were just all there beating each other up. And I found it hilarious. But I agree with you. I think he was telling his blockers to get in position. I think it was ridiculous. The fun thing about Iowa this year, like I said, Brian Ferentz will only get his job renewed next year, apparently, if he gets 25 points per game, if his offense does. That is like the clause in there, even though it's not going to be enforced. 25 points per game in the worst Power 5 conference. Division. In that division, that is the worst Power 5 division. It's like the worst sect of anything in the Power 5 at all. All he needs is 25 points per game. They're averaging 19.5. That is it. 19.5 points per game. He now needs to average, I think they said, about 33 points a game over the rest of the season to hit his magic marker. And then Kirk's going to have a big-ass decision to make. He set his son the easiest of attainable goals to keep his job, and he can't reach it, so he can't give him another contract then, sure. Otherwise, it's just nepotism.
Who wins that Big Ten West? I have not got a fucking clue.
Pull a name out of a hat.
It's worse than it was last year.
Yeah.
Iowa is still probably the front runner, and do I want to see Minnesota? I don't want to see Michigan. I don't want to see Michigan beat Iowa 60-10 in a title game.
No.
With Daxton Hill throwing 3 and 3 touchdowns for 110 yards. That's what we're going to bloody get. The fans deserve better. Get rid of the fucking East and West. I'm sick of the Big Ten. Yeah. It's a joke.
Oh well, it's going this year, isn't it? They're gone next year when all the Pac-12 comics come in. It goes to one big division, so you'll get your wish there.
No more Iowa, no more Wisconsin, no more Minnesota trying to get in a title game.
Yeah.
We've banished you.
Speaking of 60-point victories, and I hate to do this to you, Brent, that was the level of margin between LSU and Army. It was a 62-0 shutout. Sorry, Black Knights fans, but you were bad. And I'm not even going to mention the other shutout because I mean Spartans fans have had it rough enough this week, but Michigan. Oh no, let's mention it. Michigan blew them out 49-0. It was terrible. Hitler was on the scoreboard, and that's just it's. Oh my God, they're a walking dumpster fire this year. Let's not waste any time on that. I think that's just about everything. Arkansas continue to suck, and my KJ Jefferson predictions are just getting ground into a fine paste. 7-3.
Fired head coach. Probably on his way out too.
7-3 against Miss State. I mean, just KJ and Penn State this year, man. They're doing me. I've had a lot of good predictions this year, but those two just make me look absolutely terrible. Right, let's move it on, because we've been on the football for a while. I just want to go through the conference standings, quickly talk about these before we move on to the predictions next week. So this is just to give you a flavour of how everything's going on, because we're about halfway through the schedules now. So starting with the American Group of 5 conference, 3 unbeaten teams left. Tulane, SMU and UTSA all sporting 3-0 records there. Memphis, Rice and Florida Atlantic behind them on 2-1 apiece. South Florida and Navy are 2-2. And then the teams in arrears: North Texas, Tulsa, Charlotte 1-2, UAB 1-3, and surprisingly, Temple 0-4 and East Carolina 0-3. Now, talk about the teams at the top, right? But I wouldn't have pegged them to have been bottom of the American after this amount of time.
No. Very weird in conference. They have absolutely collapsed to start the year.
I mean,
I can't.
I don't know. I mean, Brett said his ECU, is he going to get fired? No, because he's lost all his team, like all of it. But he'll get a year. But Temple I expected better of, especially after we picked up EJ Warner. And they've just looked really bad there. But I mean, who are you fancying at the top at the minute? So you got Tulane, you got SMU, you got UTSA. Might we get our... I mean, I think I said UTSA, Florida Atlantic. So I'm still in the race. But who do you think out of those... Do you see a top 2 out of those 3 unbeaten teams so far? Tulane, SMU, UTSA?
Yeah, Tulane and UTSA.
I think that'll be a good game.
I think that would be the best outcome on paper.
I like it as well. No offence to SMU, but Brenko's got to take the good with the bad. Yeah, but no, I fancy them two in there. So Tulane, UTSA. I'm glad UTSA are, because they're 4-3 on the year, but they're smashing it in conference. The ACC next, we're doing this alphabetically. Florida State by far and away miles above, 5-0 in the conference, 7-0 overall. The chasing pack behind them with 1 loss. You've got North Carolina, who are 3-1, Louisville, who are 3-1, Duke, who are 2-1, and Virginia Tech, who are 2-1. Then you've got the evens teams, Boston College and Georgia Tech, and 2-2. And get this, Boston College have the second biggest win streak in the conference. They're at 3 wins in a row somehow. Then you got Clemson, who are 2-3, the Hurricanes, who are 1-2, North Carolina State and Virginia also 1-2. Then Wake Forest and Pittsburgh are 1-3, Syracuse at the bottom 0-3. Anything stand out to you there? This is a 1-team conference really this year, but Boston College is intriguing. 3 wins in a row after being absolutely god awful.
Yeah, Castellanos, innit? Their rookie there.
I love him. I like him a lot.
I'm pretty sure PFF had him as their 5th or 6th graded quarterback in the last week or two. He has really come on a long way in the last few weeks. Started the season looking like a freshman. He's a freshman, yeah.
He's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah. Redshirt, yeah. Struggled to start the season, but yeah, they're not playing attractive football, but they're playing effective football. And they're finding ways to win games even ugly. And that's all you can really ask. But yeah, it's Florida State's to lose. Picking between UNC and Louisville.
Do you think it is one of them? You got Duke, Virginia Tech. I guess you could go all the way down to Georgia Tech at 2-2, who are level. But I don't think...
You pick Duke, but only if
Leonard's
I know
healthy.
Ryan is going to play every game of the season. And right now, I just don't trust him. No. So it's probably going to be UNC.
Yeah, I agree. And the Qs are doing bad this year. Pittsburgh and Wake Forest, I think.
Virginia's not doing bad, though.
No.
Tech and Virginia, like I say, a couple of wins in conference between them, so that's not bad.
Yeah, no, they've done good there. Moving on to the Big 12 next. Oklahoma, top of the conference, 4-0, 7-0 overall, one of the last 9 unbeaten teams. Then you've got 4 3-1 teams afterwards. You've got Texas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, of all teams, and then our good friend Rocco Becht and his Iowa State Hawkeyes, all 3-1. Then you've got 4 2-2 teams: Kansas, BYU, West Virginia, and Baylor. Then you've got TCU and Texas Tech at 2-3, Houston at 1-3, and then I said all this nice stuff about UCF earlier, but UCF and Cincinnati 0-4 in the conference, and I didn't actually realise it was that bad for UCF. That is probably why, but this is a wide open conference, right? Anyone down to Baylor could challenge Oklahoma here, but there's some fun names in there. How far can Rocco and Iowa State go?
Oklahoma State will beat Oklahoma in the title game.
Wow, and who'd have thought we'd have said that after they got blown out at home by South Alabama?
They've turned it around and they look like a complete team right now.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like we're emotionally invested in Rocco Becht to the fact that I want them to get there. So we'll see how they do. But it's close. It is so close there in the Big 12. In the Big 10, the East, Michigan 5-0, Ohio State 4-0, Penn State 3-1, Rutgers 4th with 3-2, Maryland are 2-2. Michigan State and Indiana are fighting for the wooden spoon. They're both 0-4 apiece. And then that ghastly West Conference. Wisconsin 3-1, Iowa 3-2, Minnesota and Nebraska 2-2, Northwestern and Purdue are 1-3, and Illinois are 1-4, propping up that West. I mean, we've talked about a lot of teams, but I guess the one we've not talked about is Wisconsin, who are going under the radar with their new head coach as well from Cincinnati. They've quietly gone about their business after that defeat to Washington State.
Yeah, like I say, they lost their backup running back to season-ending injury, so it's just Brayon Allen and Tanner Mordecai, who started the season poorly, but their defense has stepped up because I'm pretty sure they've got one of the leading interceptors in the nation.
Yeah.
He's been really good. Their defense, has been really good in weeks. And their offense, at times, is not firing on many cylinders, not scoring that many points at times, but their defense has become very stout, especially good in the red zone. So, they're going about their business quietly because they're not putting in great performances, but they're grinding out wins. And that's all you have to do in the West. Yeah. The Big Ten West is the easiest path to a championship game in football right now. You just got to outlast the others. Like I say, Iowa slipped back, but Nebraska have kind of got a bit better in the last few weeks. They lost Casey Thompson. But they've done all right in the last few weeks. They're still there. They're not getting any mention or talk about, but they're hanging on to their coattails.
They are.
Minnesota defense is great. Their offense is not great because I don't rate McManus whatsoever.
Yeah.
Their defense is very stingy, incredible. Like I say, another great game for like Tyler Nubin, and their secondary. Minnesota is really tough to play against.
And Illinois are just suffering the effects, I think, of a draft class that ruined them. When you think of everything they lost, quarterback, running back, half a defense, there's just rebuild year for them, and you can't blame them for that, I guess.
No. If Michigan when Michigan beat Penn State, it's all there, isn't it?
Don't do it. Yeah, it is indeed. Oh dear God. Right. Anyhow, let's move this on. The CUSA. And now this is surprising because there's a team we've not talked about for a while who have done well by it, but Liberty are absolutely ruining this conference. They're 5-0. I'm not even sure if that includes yesterday. I think they're 6-0 now. But behind them, the two closest teams, Jacksonville State, 4-1, 6-2 on the year, already bowl eligible if the stupid NCAA rules didn't exist. But third in the conference, right? And last time we saw them, they weren't doing well. New Mexico State and Jerry Kill. They're 3-1 in conference, coming off a big win at the weekend. Because, I mean, in 2 of their first 3 games, they lost to UMass and Hawaii, and you're thinking, oh dear God, what's going on here? But they've really turned their schedule around. They're 3-1, 5-3 on the season, could be fighting for a CUSA title. And I think, did we have them in? I don't know.
West win last night.
They won last night. Yeah.
I thought I said their record upstairs.
Oh, they're 4-1 now. Sorry, yeah, they are. They're up to Jacksonville State. They are. Sorry, you're right. They're 4-1 on the year, so they're above Jacksonville State now. So it's Liberty, New Mexico State currently. Then you got Western Kentucky 2-1, Louisiana Tech, who were both our guys 2-2, Middle Tennessee and UTEP are 1-3, Florida International 1-4, Sam Houston 0-4, still not won a game.
My Western Kentucky Louisiana Tech title game prediction. He's not looking very healthy.
No,
Handsome Hank Backmeyer is not delivering the goods with that all-star receiver core because LA Tech below.
I think I wanted to say it was Western Kentucky Louisiana. I think we both had this. Did we both have the same title game? I think we did.
I believe we did. We're different winners.
But we had New Mexico State as our dark horses. So I'm sort of riding that coattail now, but Jerry Kill is doing a tremendous job with New Mexico State. So well done to him, and hopefully
it's going to be a
continues.
surprise. I think in this one, I don't think Liberty are going to have it all their own way this year.
No, I don't. They've had their strength of schedule before yesterday against Western Kentucky was 126th in the nation out of 133. They've had a cupcake schedule, like an absolute cupcake, and Western Kentucky are not the power they were. So. And they've struggled in recent weeks, barely beat Middle Tennessee. I mean, more convincing over Western Kentucky, but I don't believe in them fully either. The MAC, the East, 3-way tie in the East. Miami of Ohio, Ohio and Buffalo, all 3-1. Bowling Green 2-2. Akron and Kent State, both 0-4. In the West, Toledo lead the way 4-0. NIU, Northern Illinois, are 3-1. Central and Eastern Michigan are 2-2. Western Michigan and Ball State are 1-3. I mean, East is wide open there. Everyone from Bowling Green, Buffalo, Ohio, and the Red Hawks can get that. And Brett Gabbert is injured, so that maybe opens it up for the other 3 teams. It looks like Toledo are going to take the West, though, Rye.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident Toledo will take the West. I'd say the Brett Gabbert injury is pretty big. It means
I don't even know who the backup is.
It's impossible, yeah. I have absolutely no idea. It will come down to the final game of the season. They will stay locked unless one of them pulls away. Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty sure I had Eastern Michigan in the title game. I think they might have ended up winning it all, like I say, but yeah, they have flattered to deceive in the last 2 weeks. They have not looked good.
I had Eastern Michigan against the Red Hawks, so I'm actually it's a 2-game swing between East Michigan and Toledo, but I'm actually that far off at the minute. But yeah, that Gabbert injuries might banjax them. But the MAC is interesting. The Mountain West, though, so close here. Air Force, the Falcons, lead the way 4-0, 7-0 on the season, one of 9 unbeaten teams left. Great for them. UNLV, second. They are 3-0 in the conference. The only 2 teams left in the conference unbeaten. And then after that, it is a show. So 2-1, you've got Fresno State, Wyoming, and Boise State. You've got San Jose State at 2-2. Then you've got Colorado State, New Mexico, and Nevada at 1-2. Utah State and San Diego State at 1-3. And then Hawaii at the bottom, 0-3. There's only 2 wins between second and second bottom in that conference of 12, right? This is still all up in the air, but Air Force UNLV, that'd be a hell of a... The go-go against the triple option, I'd love to see that.
Style, yeah.
I'd love to see that. They're both running-based games, but complete opposites in how they operate. I'd love to see that as a game, but I don't think we'd have predicted Air Force and UNLV to be the only 2 unbeaten teams left at this point.
No, like I say, I had Air Force winning the Mountain West, but no, I didn't have the rest. Like I say, Wyoming, they were going well until they lost to Air Force, obviously, like I say, 2 weeks ago. I don't know, maybe they can make a late run and claw their way back. I don't know, it's going to be hard. But yeah, that middle pack, all treading water.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like it's a bit too soon for UNLV, and someone might pick them to the post. But yeah, Air Force have got one foot in the game for me because they're playing the harder games now and they're coming through them. But anyone else, if anyone wants it to be.
Yeah, I think they're taking wins off one another. I think 3 losses might get you in the title game behind Air Force there. So who knows? UNLV could sneak in that way, but we'll see. The Pac-12. Now this is intriguing. Washington top 4-0. Then behind them you've got USC who are 4-1. You've got Oregon State, and Utah who are all 3-1. UCLA and Arizona are 2-2. Colorado, Washington State, and Cal are all 1-3. Stanford are 1-4, and I hate to say it, but Arizona State are bottom 0-4. But you've got 4 teams after Washington there with just 1 defeat. The USC have obviously had a win more than the others. How are you feeling now in regards to them? Who do you reckon's going with Washington? If it is Washington.
It will be Washington. Now, I don't think Utah's offense is good enough. Their defense is, but I just think now they're in the tough schedule struggle. I've seen the loss, but I've not given up on Oregon. The unknown entity is Oregon State. The fact they're even there at this point right now does surprise me. And they've still got to play all the teams around them, haven't they? They haven't played any of the teams you've mentioned above them.
No, it's Utah or Oregon this week, though. So someone's going to fall by the wayside there.
Oh, yeah. Oregon State are the dark horses, but they've got to play all the best teams around them between now and the end of the year. Yeah. I'm going to say Oregon Washington rematch right now. USC have definitely got another loss in them. I just don't trust them.
No.
When they play Oregon, I think Oregon can take them down.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. All right, let's move on to the SEC. The East in the SEC, Georgia are 4-0, but their next 2 games are against the 3-1 sides. You've got Missouri and Florida, both 3-1. Missouri are 7-1 on the season. Florida are 5-2. Tennessee and Kentucky both 2-2. South Carolina 1-4, and of course Vandy are 0-4. Then in the West, Alabama are 5-0 in conference. LSU are 4-1. Ole Miss are 3-1. Texas A&M 2-2. Miss State 1-3. Auburn are 0-4, and Arkansas are 0-5. Unbelievably somehow, but we've not talked about it, right? But Alabama can win their division. They can win the SEC, and there's still a route for them in the playoffs. After all this has been said and done.
Yeah. Like the least convincing 6-0 team I've ever seen in my life. Like,
yeah.
They have really made hard work of it at times. They have not looked great. But I suppose that's what makes them a Nick Saban team. Winning games without looking good and doing it without... is this an Alabama team that's not full of household names? I suppose it is, which feels really weird to say. They're not stacked with loads of players that people know.
It's the defense.
And then, LSU, Ole Miss, they just keep tripping each other up. They are just so frustrating. And then the other side, if Missouri do take down Georgia, that leaves Florida in such an interesting place because Graham Mertz right now is playing some really good football, and that's quite strange to see. If anyone underestimates the Gators, they'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
Do I think they can win this division? I don't know.
So the interesting thing is, it's Florida and Missouri have got to play Georgia in their next 2 games, but then Missouri play at home to Florida. So you could have this crazy scenario where if one or both of them win, then you're looking at Missouri and Florida for the SEC East. It's crazy. They're all playing one another, though. So, but at the same token point, Georgia could have that conference wrapped up in 9 days if they win both games, because there's no one going to be anywhere near them.
Georgia have done it, basically. But if Georgia lost both, we're probably going to have the most interesting SEC running of the last decade.
And you've got to figure that LSU and Alabama, it's going to go down to their game against one another. Because obviously, if LSU beat them, 1 loss each, tiebreaker. So you kind of figure that's where it's going in that conference. LSU don't look like they're going to lose again until they play
LSU, like they thought a loss. Jane Daniels still playing ridiculously good football, still in the Heisman race.
Yeah.
And LSU are still very capable of making. There's still a good route to the playoffs for them too. If they take down the Alabama side, then they're right back in it. This SEC is wide open this year.
Yeah, potentially a lot wider than people think. I don't know. Brent goes, doesn't seem like LSU is a good for BK. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. The offense is really good. I don't trust their defense, but I don't know if Alabama can hang with them either. Sunbelt, last one up. In the East, James Madison lead 4-0, but of course they're disqualified from playing in the championship game. Behind them, Ryan, get this: Georgia State and Old Dominion at 3-1 apiece, going for the East version of the championship game. Georgia Southern are 2-1, Coastal Cal are 2-2, Marshall are 1-2, and App State are 1-2. And then in the West, it's even weirder. Texas State, Troy, and South Alabama, all 2-1. So my South Alabama dream is alive. Louisiana, Arkansas State, both 1-2. ULM, which is Louisiana Monroe, and Southern Miss, both 0-4. These so wide open the Sun Belt is this year. We predicted it might be with so many good teams, but who saw Georgia State and Old Dominion been the East's contribution to this? Not this guy.
No, it's panned out very, very weird. Do I trust Old Dominion? I don't know.
If they beat James Madison, this is the test for them this week.
Yeah. Like I said, Georgia State,
we gave them love.
They've got a really good chance. Like I say, they can be the one that upsets the apple cart. And then on the other side, I don't know.
It's a great three-way, though. Texas State, Troy, and South Alabama is a great three-way.
Like I said, Troy still doing what they did last year, but this year it's not working as well. Good defense, but just, again, generic lack of offense. And defense not as elite as it was last year. So I feel like Troy might miss out this year, which would probably be a big surprise.
Yeah, and in fact, it's Troy, Texas State this week. So, I mean, South Alabama can pounce there, but one of them's going to take a big hit. So, but Brent goes, Old Dominion, what a story this year. Strange season. Yeah, it is. It is. Old Dominion are right up there. Even if they lose to James Madison, Georgia State don't win, they're still going to be sharing a spoil of the lead for the conference at the very worst, unless Georgia Southern win. But I don't even know where Georgia Southern are. It's so close. Even Marshall and App State can still get to the top of the conference below James Madison. So the Sun Belt is crazy. But that's how the conferences look right now. There's still an awful lot to be decided. Very little has been clarified yet. Georgia are the closest to winning anything. But yeah, it's such an interesting season. It's just quickly overall on this season, right? It's the most unpredictable in a long time. Like, outside of a couple of teams, there's no bona fide good sides out there. Everything's up in the air and everything's to play for. There's no uber powerhouse, maybe outside of Michigan.
Outside 3 teams, it's a dogfight. It's a free for all. It's the most interesting season since the likes of Trevor Lawrence, and you're going back to when Ohio State had JT Barrett and Cardale Jones. The football's interesting again. We went for that cleansing and period of Georgia, Alabama dominance. We're on the other side of that now, and those sides have looked to have. Well, the records don't say it, but we know they've regressed, which is good. It's a good thing for football. Like you say, look at the teams that are on the up again. Like you say, LSU, Florida, Florida State, like I say, I know they've had a loss, but Penn State, Michigan, like, this is good. This is a good thing.
Absolutely, fully agreed there. Right, let's stop talking about week 8 now. Let's move on and have a quick look at week 9. Let's get some predictions in there. Brent, let's see how much you're willing to agree with us this week. As mentioned, we had to do one game yesterday because I thought it was going to be a bit closer than this, but I put in Liberty at Western Kentucky. Me being the mug I am was the only one who went for Western Kentucky because Liberty have really been struggling against the pass recently. They gave up 350 yards to Nicholas Fatiato the other week from Middle Tennessee. And I thought, at home for Western Kentucky, they've got a chance now. They got blown aside, 42-29. So we've only got 9 to make our minds on this week, and I need to have a big bounce back here. So first up, right, we're going to the SEC. We've just been talking about them. A good start point. Georgia, the Bulldogs, head into the swamp to take on the Gators, and for everything the Gators have been through, for how bad they've looked, for everyone saying Napier's on the verge of getting sacked, well, actually, as we've just heard in the review of the conferences there, they're doing damn well this year. They're one game behind Georgia. They've pulled off some impressive wins. Mertz has morphed into a very good quarterback after being a bang average, some might say subpar one, in the Big Ten. And this Gators defense, Princely Uamanalele, the one you love, he is like top of pass rush win rate by God knows how much this year. It's clear distance. This defense is good when it wants to be. The offense is good when it needs to be. But is this the weekend? There's 2 challengers stepping up to Georgia. They're on the road at the Swamp. Who do you have?
I'll take Florida. I'll say they defend the Swamp. I think Brock Bowers is a loss that I don't know if Georgia can overcome between now and the end of the season, to be honest.
See, I want Missouri to be the party poopers here. But at the same time, I love Billy Napier. I think Billy Napier's a good coach. I love what he did at Louisiana. I think a lot of the criticism he's had has been unfair. Some just, but too much unfair criticism. I'm going to go Georgia. I think Missouri will be the ones who dethrone them. And I'm not sure whether Florida are good enough to win this big a game just yet. But if they do, I don't care. I will quite happily take this on the chin. So Ryan's going Florida, I'm going Georgia. Next up, and Brent agrees with me, so this is the way this is going to go. Big 12 action, right? Oklahoma at Kansas. Obviously, Kansas let us down recently, but we've seen what that Oklahoma defense looks like, and the one thing that we know that Kansas do well, whether it be Jalen Daniels or Jason Bean at quarterback, is throw the ball well, and that passing game is really potent, and Oklahoma are on the road here. Everybody's beating everybody in the Big 12. It's going to be a tough one, but who do you have? Do the Sooners stay unbeaten, or do Kansas ring their own upset?
This is going to be all about the quarterbacks. It's all going to be all about the passing offense. Kansas defense, I don't really rate that highly either. But I'll take Oklahoma in a 80-point shootout. Dylan Gabriel will continue his march towards the draft and the very unlikeliest of Heisman winners.
Oh, Brent's agreeing with you. I'm taking Kansas for this. I think the Big 12 is unpredictable, and I don't think the Sooners are good enough to go unbeaten. I think Kansas will win. I agree with you. I think it'll be an 80-point shootout. But I think Kansas will pull off to Oklahoma what Oklahoma did to Texas. I think they'll beat them on the last drive of a game when they're not expected to. So you go Oklahoma, I go Kansas. Brent's gone Sooners. Next up, Pac-12, Oregon at Utah. I mean, we've talked about the Pac-12 enough this year. We know how good Oregon and Bo Nix and that offense is, but people keep writing off Kyle Whittingham and Utah. And they do, and with reason. Cam Rising's not playing, but I think they are a team. We talk about teams proving themselves and not proving themselves and been frauds and that. I don't think there's been a team more than Utah who have proven the doubters wrong more times. Every time they get doubted, they pull off a result. and it's at Utah. Oregon are on the road. We know they're not as good on the road as they are at home. They're vulnerable away from Eugene. But who have you got for this? Is this Oregon's one? Is this where they're going to stamp their credentials as a Pac-12 title holder, or are Utah just going to continue to upset the betting lines, the pundits, everybody?
Oh,
I don't know. This is tough. I just have a real big affinity for Utah and Kyle Whittingham. I think the job he's done is tremendous. And I just think every time you doubt them, they prove you wrong. But I know the fact that when I go for them, they'll have their blip. And if they lose to Oregon, no one's going to bat an eyelid because they're without their stars on offense. But I can't write them off. I'm genuinely struggling.
I'll just take Oregon.
I'm going to have to... No, I can't. Don't. Oh, this is so tough. Screw it. No, I'm going to go Utah. I bet Utah against USC at the Coliseum. If I can be that brave with them, I can be brave with them at home against Oregon. I'm going Utah, but I fully understand why you've gone Oregon there. Oh, God, Brent's gone Utah as well. Grandizer's in the chat. Sorry, Grandizer. Hope I not messed your message. Hope you are doing well, good sir. Hilly ho, lads. Hope you're doing good. So yeah, we're split on that. Oregon, Ryan, me, Utah. Who do we have next? ACC action. Duke at Louisville. So Riley's still questionable at this moment in time because that ankle's not good. But Louisville, we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of them. Of course, they won again this weekend, just gone to make up for that massive defeat they had the week before where we both bet on them and we both said we were never going to do so again. But this is part of the chasing pack between Florida State. Even without Riley Leonard, Duke have shown they're a good team with a good defense and they can win because they've won without him once. Duke on the road, who have you got?
Duke, because their good defense can nullify and make Plummer have a terrible day.
I'm going to stay on the Duke train as well. I'm not getting off. I think Mike Elko's done one of the best coaching jobs in football over the last 18 months. And I will ride and die with him and what he's done there. So we agreed. We go with Duke on that one. Now we get some of the interesting G5 games. Wyoming at Boise State. So Boise have been... Oh, Brent's gone Duke as well. I love that. Wyoming got Boise State, so this is two of the teams chasing after UNLV and Air Force at the top. They're in that one-loss category at the minute, and whoever loses this is out. Wyoming have been good until they played Air Force, but Air Force have been amazing this year. Boise State, like you said, have disappointed what feels like all year. They've just not been hitting their ceiling, but they're at home on the bright blue pitch where generally they tend to do better. Another tough one, right? Who have you got in Mountain West action? Wyoming at Boise State.
Wyoming comfortably. Their defense is what they're predicated and built on. Taylor Green,
not performing.
No, he's not living up to standards this year. He's not taking the step again from last year. And I think that's going to cost them. There's no real plan B. Their defense is not great.
No, I don't know. I think...
Won't be a high scorer.
No, Brent's gone Wyoming as well. I just think with Boise been at home, and Wyoming are generally a bit more vulnerable on the road. I'm going to go Boise, but I'm not confident in the slightest. I reckon I might come to regret that one, but I do fancy Boise at home. Tulane, the Green Wave, travel this week to Rice. The Owls actually doing well this year, and JT Daniels finally seems to have found himself a home, and I'm really glad for him. He's been performing well. The team have been putting up some good points. I know that they didn't the weekend just gone. I think they only put up 10. I know it wasn't a good week, but for the most part he's been pretty good. Where is he at? He's at 64% completion, 2,173 yards, 17 touchdowns, and just 5 picks on the year. I mean, he's got some great targets there. I know Luke McCaffrey's got a ton of yardage there for them this year. I think he's got like 7 touchdowns. I know Oliver Hodgkinson, the big guy, he's forever putting up clips of JT and McCaffrey, and they're doing well. But, the green tidal wave is unstoppable, but that Rice team is formidable, and they're not far behind the lead of the conference. Only a couple of games off, and they've upset some better teams this year. So this is potentially a banana skin one here. Do you still believe in Pratt and the green tidal wave for this one?
Oh yeah, comfortably. This is a bridge too far for Rice. JT will probably play fine, but I just don't think they match up well, like I say. I think their inability to dominate on the ground will help them. Like I say, Rice, like I say, McCaffrey, good passing offense, but yeah, they're kind of a one-trick pony, even though they're doing it well. I think there's just too many phases and too many looks Tulane will give them, and it'll probably be pretty comfortable in the end.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tulane as well, but I think the upset's there, which is why I've put it in, see if I can entice anybody to go for it. Grandizer goes, I hear Hank, he sounds so sad. Most of the time, Grandizer, Hank is snoring. Don't feel sorry for him, he's just sat there, chilling away, snoring, having a doze, as we call it. He's dozing off. So Hank is fine. He just loves to sleep on Ryan's lap. I'm sure he'd take a hug though. He doesn't. Right, where were we? Back to the Pac-12. Colorado at UCLA. This is equally a horrible one because it's Dion, and that train has fallen completely apart, and the offense, which is so good for them, is coming up against one of the Pac-12's best defenses. But I know your thoughts on Dante Moore and how bad he's been recently, and can they put up enough points to do it? This is again, it's a bad matchup for both teams. Well, I mean, I guess it's better for UCLA because Colorado's defense is worse, but UCLA have the weapons to nullify Shedeur Sanders in this. But I don't know if they're as good a team on there. Who we got, Bruins or Buffs?
This is hard, let's say, because the only way UCLA can win this game is rushing for 250. Right, so Carson Steele and his running back room are going to have to go for 6-7 yards of carry. I can't trust Dante Moore as far as I can throw the kid. And yeah, the UCLA defense is really good, but their offense just can't hang. I think Shedeur Sanders he might have the best day, but he's going to pick it apart eventually. And if Travis Hunter doesn't play at cornerback, hopefully not too many snaps, then they'll keep Dante Moore in check. So I'll take Colorado just because they can outscore them. They can score quicker. Their wide receivers will convince that secondary. Yeah. Colorado won't try run the ball because they know it won't work.
Yeah. I'm going to go Bruins. I'm not being a homerish because Hatter's house is in the building and he's a Bruins fan, but I feel like that UCLA defense is legit, and I think if it nullifies Colorado, they've not got much to offer other than that explosiveness on offense. So I'm going to back UCLA for that one. Brent's going UCLA as well. He also says Hank's the dude. He is indeed. We've got two left. Mountain West action, right? UNLV, the Rebels at Fresno State. We've done a section on UNLV tonight, how they are performing better, and Fresno have not looked like they've had some good wins this year, but equally they've had some bad performances as well. They're kind of Jekyll and Hyde-ish. I guess it depends on who turns up, but the Rebels are on a run, 4 in a row in conference, or 4 in a row, sorry, just in general. Very confident, coming off a big come-from-behind win against Colorado State. Do they have what it takes to take a big scalp in the Mountain West, or is it too soon on the road?
No, I'm going to say Fresno State upset them. I think Fresno State winning would be the upset, and I'm going to back the upset. They've been hot and cold. They've been up and down. I think the Bulldogs bounce back, and they hand... I think their first real test, UNLV.
See, I'm going to put my heart and soul into this. UNLV are the 6th team I've shone the spotlight on. The other 5 have lost. I need someone to win. I'm going to put my heart and soul in. I say Rebels go and upset Fresno State on the road. I genuinely believe that. Now, please don't let me down. If we win, then I'll be going to a go-go. in celebration. And then the last one of the lot to finish it off in the Sun Belt, Troy on the road at Texas State. Two of the three teams embroiled in a divisional battle, all with the same record, right? Troy with that defense, which it's the best in the Sun Belt by some margin. It's only given up 122 points this year. I don't think anyone else is below 140. But the offense, which is also it's Kamani Vidal, really. He's got like 1,000 rushing yards this year. If they could run the ball, great. But Texas State, they had their setback against Louisiana, but they won the follow-up after. J.G. Kinney's doing a tremendous job there. Alternating styles of how they play. Kinney loves to air it out. Troy loves to ram it down your throat. But Troy are on the road. Who have you got in the Sun Belt title up? I don't know what title up is, by the way. I mean, a conference decider. Division decider.
I think in the same fashion that I just picked Colorado this time, yeah, I'm going against Troy. I just don't like their style of offense, and I don't think it matches up well. So I think Troy lose because of their inability to create splash plays and score quickly or score heavily.
Yeah, I'm a believer in Kinney and the Bobcats. I like the way they play football. I like him as a coach, and I want them to do well. So I've got Texas State winning this as well. Oh my God, Brent has said UNLV over Fresno State. Brent, you say we disagree all the time, but I think you and me are a lot more alike than you might care to think at sometimes. Because not many people are going to be picking the Rebels on the road. So we think alike. Right, that is the 9 there. Just in terms of any other games we want to quickly mention before we get out of here, because we've been on a while. And if you've got any questions you want to ask us before we go off the air today, please do get them in while we do this final look at this week's games, and then we'll answer them before the show is done. So obviously we're in midweek at the minute. Tonight it's Jacksonville State away at Florida International and UTEP away at Sam Houston. Not really anything appealing there, although seeing Jacksonville State will do well. Tomorrow, Georgia State at Georgia Southern. That'll be a big one in the Sun Belt, especially in the race behind James Madison, and then there's Syracuse and Virginia Tech. But we're going to get to the big games. The ranked teams we've not mentioned. Ohio State at Wisconsin, Ryan. Ohio State on the road. Wisconsin, talked about. Getting better. Mordecai looks good. Ohio State are fraudulent as they come. But is it going to be Michigan are the ones who defraud them? Because Wisconsin could. If they're known for their defense, usually.
Yeah, Wisconsin are playing better defense, but this is the best offense they're going to face.
Yeah.
And
Harrison's...
Yeah, Penn State couldn't really slow down that wide receiver core. So I haven't seen enough to convince me that Wisconsin could either. I think Ohio State will win. They won't win me over with the win. They won't blow out Wisconsin. They'll beat them fairly soundly, but I don't think it'll be an ultra-rave home bout as a matchup.
Matt, I'm not brainwashing Brent. I can't. We've had some serious differences of opinion over the years, so there's no way. Brent's just seeing the light. That's all it is. I don't think so. Ohio State, I keep wanting them to lose to someone who's not Michigan, and they never do, so that's going to be a pain. The other ranked ones, Florida State on the road at Wake Forest, Washington on the road at Stanford, BYU on the road against Texas, Indiana on the road against Penn State, Oregon State on the road against Arizona, Vanderbilt on the road against Ole Miss, Pittsburgh on the road against Notre Dame, UNC on the road against Georgia Tech, Air Force on the road at Colorado State, Tennessee at Kentucky, Colorado to UCLA, I've done that already, USC are on the road against Cal, and James Madison are at home to Ole Miss. Any upset scream when you heard the fixtures mentioned there?
Who's the ranked team in the Tennessee game?
Tennessee. They're ranked 21. and they're on the road against Kentucky.
Yeah, I can see a Kentucky win there. I don't like Tennessee. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them.
Do you reckon Cal can put down some big points on USC? Saying that, who's Cal's running back? Is it Jaden Ott?
Yeah, like Jaden Ott.
Jaden Ott.
One of the best running backs in the nation, yeah.
I don't know. I could see maybe a slight possibility there. Cal on the road.
I think they can score some decent points, yeah. They'll bulldoze through that defense.
Be a high scorer for sure. Oregon State against Arizona. Arizona, we've seen what they did to Washington State.
They'll give problems.
Oh, I don't know. BYU at Texas? Upset?
No. I've backed BYU before, and I thought they were going to be strong, and no, they failed. They flattered to deceive.
So nothing's truly screwed.
I still think Texas probably still get the job done.
Yeah. So nothing's truly screaming. I think Georgia Tech might have half a chance against UNC the way they play. I think Georgia Tech have a good defense, and they run the. They could do exactly what Virginia did to them. So that's where I'm going to put the upset. UNC lose again, but then certainly Tennessee are in there as well. But anywho, anything else on there? We've got Houston, Kansas State. I'm not looking at the Big 12 because that's terrible. Clemson at NC State. I was looking forward to that one at the start of the year. We both suck big time. God, Michigan State at Minnesota. Ooh, that could be ugly. Marshall against Coastal Cal could be good. I could enjoy that. But Marshall need to win that as well. Otherwise, they're completely done for. Washington State to Arizona State. Can they? Washington State have been vulnerable. I see the smile there. You want to say it.
I want it because I like Cam Ward, but right now he sucks. Done it for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Cam Ward has been bad.
Yeah.
They got destroyed by Arizona.
Yeah.
And we just held Washington 15 points. But knowing Arizona State, that means we'll go out and they'll absolutely blast us.
Lay a goose egg.
Yeah, they'll probably absolutely kick our ass. We'll beat them, or they'll drop 45 to 50 on us. There'll be no in between because that's just where we are right now.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's probably going to be the way. I'm still a Cam Ward fan, so I still want them to win games. So.
Do you think Notre Dame could struggle this week?
Who against Pitt?
Yeah.
Ugh, Pitt are so hit and miss. No, I don't know. Notre Dame confuse me. I don't know what they are. They lose that game to Ohio State and then they blast USC. I will be forever grateful for that for them. Like forever grateful, but I don't know. That's going to be tough. I honestly don't know with that one. So yeah. We'll see with it. Right, that's everything we're going to do for the previews for next week. There's a few others in there. I don't think there's much else to mention. There's a lot of terrible teams playing one another this week. Army play UMass though, so hopefully Brent, you can celebrate a win with Army this week. If they lose to UMass, you'll hear about it next week. So yeah, that's fun. I've got a couple of questions before we get out of here. So Lisa De Lorenzo asks, do you think Illinois' record will affect Jazane Newton's draft stock? I don't believe so. I mean, you look at Travis Jones came out the other day. He played for UConn. He got taken at 50. I think talent trumps team, but I don't know. Do you think they've been really bad this year, maybe affecting how he plays the game? Do you think it hurts his stock? I still see him in top 10 in mocks.
Nah, I don't think a team being terrible can hurt a defensive tackle position. He's not in a position where he can't win games. Like it don't matter how well he plays. It's not going to have any reflection on them winning games.
Yeah.
It's not to say it's not an important position, but it's not a game-changing position. So no, like they could lose every game this season, and he'll still probably be taken in the first 100 picks.
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely marmalised Wisconsin at the weekend, and I mean marmalised them, because I did watch a bit of that for him. I think he had at least 2 sacks, maybe 3. but like the performance against Penn State when he single-handedly kept Illinois in that game for a big portion of it, and that performance, he's going to be a top 10 pick. I can only dream that he falls to the Lions at 27 or 28 or wherever it is we're picking. No, his I don't think it will affect him, because that performance against Penn State has eradicated any doubt about him. And this one at the weekend just gone was amazing as well. So I think he will be all right. I think that's the only one, actually. Any more questions you want to quickly get in, please do. I will go through all the end housekeeping bits first, and then I'll answer anything else before we get out of here. Dan Pask's in the chat, says, sorry I'm late. Hope you're doing well, Dan. We're just about to get off here, but hope you're doing good. Interviewing Tom soon, I believe. So remember, Dan, ask Tom whether he prefers width or girth. Or girth or length, sorry. That's the question he needs to ask. He'll burst out laughing. He'll know exactly who it's from, but yeah, I'm looking forward to watching your episode with Tom. In terms of next shows, the main podcast will be back this Saturday. We'll be doing our preview for the Las Vegas Raiders Monday night game. We've got a content creator coming on from over in the States. Thanks to our recommendation from Grandizer, we've set that up. It'll be at the slightly later time of 10 o'clock British time, 5 o'clock over there, just so we can sync up streams with the guy over there. But it's all going to be good, so come and join us for that. See if the Lions can get back on track. And then me and Ryan will be back next week. 1st of November. We're into November already in a week's time. We'll be reviewing Week 9. We'll be taking a look ahead to Week 10. We'll probably start doing some more in-depth stuff about players as well soon, because we've done mainly team stuff so far. So if you've got anything you want us to do about players, position groups, anything, especially after that shellacking we got from the Ravens at the weekend, there might be position groups that are becoming important to you in our next draft cycle, and we will go through those position groups and let you know which players to look for in the draft going forward. Obviously you can find us all over Roar of the Lions UK, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. On Facebook, Roar of the Lions UK, the group Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide, the website roarofthelionsuk.com. Find us all over. We appreciate all the support that you give us. Honestly, it means the world. We're kicking on towards 100,000 audio listens. The same on YouTube. You guys are the best bunch in the world. Brent asked one last question. With all the BS going on at Michigan, do you think Jim Harbaugh bolts back to the NFL? I'm thinking yes. Does Harbaugh come back? I think it's a load of nothing against Michigan. And again, me, guy who scrutinises Michigan more than anything, think this is a joke. I don't think they'll do anything against him. I don't think he'll come back. But what about you?
No. I think if you were going to go, I think he'd have gone in the last cycle. Last year when all that headband. Some guys just reside themselves to college football. Like I say, you'll never see Nick Saban or Kirby Smart or anything like that. Or what's his face at like Clemson. They're just never going to make the jump. Yeah, Dabo. No matter how much interest they ever get, they get to a certain age or a point where there's just college for life.
Dabo might get pushed soon.
I don't even know who'd interest him. He, like I said, strong opinion of himself, but also he ain't going to go on a bottom feeder.
No. And
the people that want him, like I say, the ones who head coach vacancies usually have not very good programs.
I think Harbaugh needs to win a natty to cement his legacy. I don't think he's got a legacy at Michigan if he doesn't win a natty. It's all very well winning all these games, but I think that defeat against TCU was like, you've got to prove your team can do it when it matters. And I feel like he has to do that first. I don't know about you, but I feel like he's got to do that first before he thinks about leaving.
Yeah, because
it'll tarnish your legacy. You can't lose to TCU.
The NFL now.
Yeah.
Like the first thing people go to when they think of Michigan will be losing it.
Good team, but balls it up when it matters.
Losing to a not great TCU team. I won't want that. I wouldn't want that to be the first thing someone thinks of after everything that I did.
You know what? I've decided what I want this year. I know we're going to finish very quickly. I want Florida State versus Michigan in the semi. Because I want to see Wolverines fans, and I want to see Ash, and I want to see at least one of them, one set of the groups, have to watch their team exit at that point. I'll take whoever wins, fine. I'll probably root for you in the college football playoff final, but I want to see them take chunks out of one another. Just my own.
Good.
Okay, quick. Right, last question. I'm going to ask you, and then we will get out of here. Who wins in a game between Michigan and Florida State on neutral ground in the playoffs? Full strength, no injuries. We've not frozen, he is just deciding. I mean, I would say in the comments tell us, but we've got Michigan fans in here, so it'll be all Michigan, unless Ash is knocking round, and I think Ash is probably working, so...
Michigan. I think they slow down Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman. They don't stop them, but they put a blanket on them, and no one else has been able to. I like the Michigan secondary.
You know what? I think it'd be a low scorer. You know, because Florida State love to run the ball, and Michigan love to run the ball, I think it would be a low scorer. Oh, I don't know. See, for me, I don't care who. Lisa goes Michigan. Brent will definitely go Michigan. Brent goes FSU versus Michigan, ass kicking by the Wolverines. I'll let Ash know that one there for you. I think it'll be close. Oh, it physically pains me to say this, but I think Florida State would win. I do. I just don't know where the matchup... Whose secondary's better? I think it might come down to secondary. Whose secondary's better? I think Florida State's might be weaker.
I think Michigan's is a bit sturdier.
And Sainra still's got like stupid number of picks this year. And actually, I'm going to flip. I say Michigan win closely because of the secondary. I think they get more picks. I do. So, anyhow, fun one to end on. I do want it to be Michigan, Florida State in the playoffs. So hopefully I will get my wish. Brett, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. $2 there. We appreciate all the help we get. Thank you for being in the building and interacting with us all night. We love it. It's what makes these shows really good. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Matt, who's been in there. Thanks, everyone else who's joined us. We'll be back Saturday talking Lions, Raiders at Lions, Monday Night Football, Clete Blakeman, Jimmy Garoppolo, all that good stuff. It's going to be fun. So join us for that. But until then, me and Ryan will see you again on Wednesday on the College Pod. We'll see you again on Saturday on the main one. One Pride. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a great weekend. Au revoir.